as an update to our sister city agreement with Isla Mujeres, Mexico. As you know, Isla Mujeres came to Bonita Springs a year ago, and recently I reciprocated and traveled to Isla Mujeres, Mexico. And this really is the brainchild and is because of Juan Romero with the Outreach Committee. And Juan, I'd ask you to come forward, please, at this time to share some of your visions, to make any introductions, to serve as our interpreter should we need that. Thank you, Juan.
Thank you very much. Yes, like the mayor mentioned, this is the group of people who we have been working with them, and the Sister Cities program, it has been very successful. We was up there at the beginning of the month and meet with a group of people. I can see up there Rico, who is the director of tourism, and the lady from the administration of the Isla Mujeres. And we meet them up there and we talk about different issues and different opportunities to work together, bringing opportunities for businesses, for interchanging education, bilingual education. We're talking about bringing teachers and students from Mexico and also sending teachers up there. It's a very potential area where they are developing lots of hotels and tourism, and it's the community from out there and here. We want to share all of that, bring the people from Isla Mujeres wants to come over here and do a investment. A group of investments, they want to come over and then maybe put the money on developing buildings and commercial areas, and also, of course, wants to interchange tourism, and maybe we're talking about opening the air services from Fort Myers direct to Cancun. And when we went up there, it was a group of people who they was going up there in Cancun, Isla Mujeres, Tulum, Xel-Há, from Fort Myers, groups of students. We have opportunity to meet 25 students from Florida Gulf Coast University, and they was doing a trip up there, and group of families. So it's a lot of potential. We can do business with them up there. So it's so much tourists up there. We need to develop programs for the services they need down there too. And that is also one of our strong activity here in Bonita Springs. So I'm very happy to have this opportunity to interchanging ideas, projects, and programs to serve in our communities. We're talking about the service or the programs to be working on the problems we have in our beaches and our water management, the red tide, to prevent. And they have a program, they are working on it. They know the beaches is the most important thing they have to do to bring the tourism. It's the same as our beaches here. It needs to be clean. So they developing programs, and then they have ideas of how to preventing and cleaning and keeping those beaches good and clean. They have 2 areas where they are in the 10, number 10 on the world. So they want to keep in the same way is us up here in Bonita. So we got a lot on common. So I really be happy to be part of this program, this project, and in working together with the mayor and the Presidente Carrillo from Isla Mujeres, who is very excited. He has been here. Last year he was here. He is promising to bring teams, soccer teams, and also we are talking about baseball and also fishing tournament to do interchanging between people from the Southwest Florida and down there in Isla Mujeres. So it's a lots of opportunities, and I just hope we can do the connection. You know, this is the first time we are trying to do having the connection by the internet and then be able to talk to them up there. So I'm very excited of that, and hopefully we can make it that works. So, I
So
don't know
is
if it's
Rico, or are they able to hear us?
No, they lost connection. They lost connection with us.
Okay,
Try to call them back out.
great. So Juan, I would say, there we are. Juan, can you please start over? You said it so wonderfully. You can. Welcome.
we can see Presidente Carrillo, Rico from tourism, and his team, and I really want to welcome Presidente Carrillo to our meeting and introduce our mayor, Peter Simmons, who is right here, and I'm very happy to have you here in our meeting in Bonita Springs and using the technology.
Good morning. Welcome.
They can't hear. Oh, good.
Okay. Juan, please.
Presidente Carrillo, buenos días. Aquí estamos con el alcalde de la ciudad de Bonita Springs y le damos la bienvenida a usted. Y pues mucho gusto de estarlo viendo con su grupo de trabajo, con nosotros acá, con el alcalde Peter Simmons y los concejales de la ciudad. Buenos días, bienvenido.
Buenos días, todos. ¿Cómo están?
They say good morning and everybody, and how are you doing? And then I know, Presidente Carrillo, you speak very well English, and then here is our Mayor Peter Simmons.
Good morning. Good to see everybody again. And I'll have you know the mayor of Isla Mujeres is a Dallas Cowboys fan. Amy, I know you'd appreciate that fact. And they're playing at New England this year.
You can pick a better team.
Good morning, everybody, and I'd like to introduce, if we could, down at this end, Councilwoman Amy Carumba,
La consejera del Distrito 1,
Welcome.
Councilman Greg DeWitt,
Welcome.
Councilwoman Laura Carr,
Hi.
Deputy Mayor Peter O'Flynn,
Good morning.
Councilman Mike Gibson,
Buenos dias.
and Councilman Fred Forbes.
Welcome.
And as we had covered, and I'll go back to where we were before when we had the podcast set up originally. This really is the brain trust and the hard efforts over a number of years of Juan Romero, a vision of Juan Romero for children and education and soccer and food and culture and art and humanity and hard work. So as I said to Juan when we were in Isla Mujeres, this is my hand and my pen signing this, but it really and truly is because of Juan Romero. So I'd like to introduce Juan and have Juan speak and share what he just shared with us, Juan, in terms of starting the discussion. And then I'd like to recognize Chairwoman Gittens from the Lee County School Board as well to share, and others. There's several others that I'd like you to meet, some that traveled with us to Isla Mujeres, some that did not. And Juan can also interpret anything that we might need to do. So Juan Romero, thank you.
Gracias. Con esta introducción que hizo el alcalde de la ciudad acerca del trabajo y el esfuerzo que hemos hecho durante años para acercar nuestras ciudades, la verdad que es muy grande el reconocimiento que me ha mencionado, pero me da mucho gusto que este programa de intercambio y de acercamiento con la hermana ciudad de Isla Mujeres se esté dando. Tuvimos la oportunidad de estar con ustedes. Esta reunión es en seguimiento al trabajo y a las presentaciones que tuvimos oportunidad de tener con ustedes y de un inicio de trabajo en donde mejoraremos las relaciones entre nuestras ciudades y buscaremos las mejores oportunidades en todos los sentidos, como mencionamos en la reunión con ustedes. Just tell them the introduction you just did to me is so big, and I don't deserve that. I'm just be working, looking for opportunities for our community, for our children, for a well-being of us is together. And this project from Isla Mujeres sister city, it has been for a long time, years and years, and working together, because we want to be is a one nation, we coming together. We have to break that breaches, no breaches, but the walls and division in between us. We are human beings and we're looking for the same things. We're looking for opportunities in Bonita Springs and Isla Mujeres to live happy and having our children getting a better opportunities. Isla Mujeres is a very beautiful city area. We're developing tourism and working people, warm people, and we want to have
And they have clean water.
yes.
Can you imagine that?
They've been working so hard to keeping clean the ocean and having a very 100% quality of water out there is one of the things we want to do working here also. So I can keep mentioning a lot of things, good things on this program, but I really want to have the opportunity of the mayor and the President Carrillo to interchanging and also introducing our Secretary of Education from the Lee County School Board, who's very interested. She want to join us up there on the meeting. Unfortunately, she was just elected and she has a lot of things to take care, but she's here today, and also she's interested on interchanging teachers and educations between our cities, and I really want to have her to share a little bit of her experience. Thank you.
Please, thank you, Juan. And welcome, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
One, do not go too far.
Do not go to-
I will need you. Hello, everyone, and good morning. I bring greetings to you from the Lee County School Board, and this is a very interesting project that I'm sure in the future we can find some commonalities, or you want to say that part and then I'll go on? I forget about the translator. Go ahead.
La secretaria de Educación está mencionando que está muy contenta y trae saludos de parte del Departamento de Educación del Condado Lee para todos ustedes. Ella está muy segura de que los programas que hay en educación pueden funcionar para ambas ciudades.
We are a district of about 90,000 students, including our charter schools, and 40% of them are of Latino Hispanic descent. We have 90,000 students.
Nosotros tenemos 90,000 estudiantes en el condado de Lee, de los cuales aproximadamente el 40% son latinos aquí en la región.
Those numbers make this project something that we should be involved with. We need to develop a relationship. I especially like the idea of bringing teachers because we are very short on teachers.
Estos números muestran que hay una necesidad de participar en este proyecto de hermanamiento de ciudades y además con los números que muestran en el condado de Lee, aquí donde nosotros vivimos, muestra que necesitamos maestros y es una parte importante en la que se quiere ver envuelta la directora de educación.
We have a Department of Diversion and Inclusion that helps us to understand the cultural diversity of our students, and I'm sure this project can help us to further that department.
El condado de Lee tiene en el Departamento de Educación una división que es de diversidad y de cultura, en donde en este programa podrá ayudarnos a desarrollar y mejorar los servicios para los estudiantes de nuestra región con el programa de diversidad.
I'm very sorry that I did not get to come and visit you, but I will not miss it again. And I look forward to working with all of you in Isla Mujeres to do what is best for our children in Lee County and also in your city. And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairwoman. And I would just add, as you and I had discussed, and Juan and I had discussed, and some others, an English to Spanish, Spanish to English. And, you know, my birthday's tomorrow. I'm only 51. I'll be 52 tomorrow. But back in the day, we used to have what they called pen pals. And you would get a name of a student, and you would exchange letters. You'd handwrite them. Mine was in New Zealand. So in the late 70s, going from New Hampshire to New Zealand probably took 3 weeks. I don't know, but we would get the letters, and we would have pen pals. And one thing that I know Juan and I had discussed, and I don't know, that would probably be done by email, but I certainly wouldn't want there to be any issues with email addresses and the like. But that is something that students could be introduced to, I would think, relatively quickly.
We can definitely discuss that, and I can talk with our curriculum and staff department to discuss how we can do that, and technology to know what would be legal, et cetera.
Right,
Okay.
right. No, absolutely. And
Do you-
Mayor Carrillo and your team, is that something that would be, I'm sure we had discussed of interest, but would there be any problems with email addresses? Juan, I'm sorry. Yeah, if you could.
Presidente Carrillo, quería resumir las últimas conversaciones que tuvimos o la información que tuvimos. La secretaria de Educación dice que lamenta mucho no haber estado en la reunión con nosotros en esta ocasión, pero seguramente tendremos otras oportunidades de visitarlos y la próxima vez ella estará muy contenta de visitar Isla Mujeres. El alcalde también mencionó acerca del programa de intercambio de cartas. Anteriormente no existía tanta tecnología y se hacían cartas, intercambio de cartas con estudiantes. El alcalde pregunta que si ese programa podría ser establecido, ya lo habíamos platicado y se había sugerido en Isla Mujeres. Ese programa se puede establecer en la facilidad posible, lo más pronto posible, y la secretaria de Educación también dice que lo va a comentar con el director de Educación del condado para darle seguimiento y establecer el programa de intercambio de cartas entre nuestras ciudades con estudiantes locales de Bonita y los estudiantes de Isla Mujeres. Alcalde, si usted tiene, perdón, presidente, si usted tiene comentarios.
Hola, ¿nos escucha Juan?
Perfectamente.
Okay, buenos días a todas y a todos. Good morning, Mr. Mayor and City Council. We're so glad to have this video conference with you from Isla Mujeres. We say hi to you. Juan, sí estamos muy interesados en el programa de educación, como lo comentamos en la reunión que tuvimos aquí en Isla Mujeres con todo el equipo que vino de Bonita Springs. Estamos listos para empezar a formular los programas de intercambio y vaya, estamos en toda la disposición de empezar con este programa
We are very proud of the program, and we are ready to start it and do the programs and the interchanges on all the topics we're talking about, but very specifically with the education, with the students for our boys and girls from our country and in the city of Bonita Springs and Isla Mujeres. And he's very happy and be working. We've been working together for already, like a couple years, and then calls and meetings, and we are ready to start the interchanging of the programs and the ideas to being working together for our communities.
Wonderful. And could you ask him or the team, are there any issues with email addresses or internet for students if they were to exchange letters?
El alcalde le pregunta si es algún problema que se estableciera la relación entre estudiantes por medio de los correos electrónicos utilizando la tecnología de ahora. He said it's very extraordinary to begin with the emails and interchanging emails and letters for the students.
Yes, please.
I'm just thinking as well, I guess I'm old school. I know you're only 51, but
I still write letters. I do.
I'm just thinking, because it is such a lost art, that to help students to write and to do that tactile,
Okay.
to be able to write letters would be easier to start with.
Okay.
Because then we could find out about the technical piece.
Right, and figure out the email security,
Yes.
but not hold it back time-wise.
Menciona la secretaria de Educación que es posible que sería mucho más interesante el intercambio de cartas en cuestión de incrementar la lectura y el arte inclusive de la escritura, y que es mucho más personal y más mucho más bonito, se puede decir, que se puedan intercambiar cartas entre los estudiantes. ¿Qué le parece a usted, señor presidente? He's very happy to have that type of program with our representative from the education.
No, that's great.
He's 100% agree with that.
It'll get our children off their cell phones, off their computers, and practice their penmanship, and their English to Spanish, and their Spanish to English. Chairwoman, and I'm sorry, we're just getting to know each other, and I wouldn't want to by any means put you on a spot. What would you think what would you suggest for how many schools or students we might want to look at to start this exchange of handwritten letters?
Just off the top of my head, thinking about it, we just had our selection of Golden Apple teachers, and there were 30 teachers on that list. That might be a place that I can suggest we start.
Okay.
I spoke with some of them, and we have some Spanish-speaking teachers, and I think it would be a great project. And even, let's say the classes that are learning Spanish could possibly have the students write a letter in Spanish and in English.
Right.
Because that way they can kind of compare. And I know I said a lot.
No.
La Secretaría de Educación menciona que puede empezar, tiene una lista de 30 maestros nominados como para el premio de la Manzana de Oro, y ellos pueden empezar a trabajar, puede proponer que empiecen a trabajar para hacer el intercambio de cartas. Hay maestros bilingües que también pueden participar en el proyecto, y es algo muy interesante para establecer como un principio del intercambio educativo. El alcalde también menciona que es una manera muy interesante de desconectar a nuestros hijos de los celulares y de las tabletas y del internet, y regresar a la parte más sensible de la conexión con los estudiantes. Si usted tiene alguna otra comentario, presidente Carrillo, Rico, alguno de ustedes. He just want to set a connection. Who's going to be the person who's going to be the in charge of this program, so we can, put a couple of people in charge of the interchanging of letters.
How about the three of us? Can we do that, Chairwoman? You, me, and Juan? Could we work together?
The three of us can work together, because I also have one other idea. We have student advisory groups that it could go to them as well, and they might have some input as to how to
Fabulous.
do it easier.
We'll
So,
build our team.
Definitely.
Okay, we'll go from there.
El alcalde sugiere que sea el alcalde mismo, Peter Simmons, la secretaria de Educación y su servidor. Además, la secretaria de Educación menciona que hay un comité de estudiantes que puede también ser parte del grupo. Nos comprometemos a desarrollar este grupo para tener ya este programa disponible y darle seguimiento y establecerlo.
Me parece perfecto y sería extraordinario, estaba ahorita con Rico, que pudiésemos intercambiar por paquetería estas cartas, que se hagan un grupo de cartas de estudiantes de Isla Mujeres o de Bonita Springs y se envíen por paquetería, por papeles o algo similar para que sea más rápido el intercambio de cartas.
He suggests to making like a package of a bunch of letters, send it by
Snail mail?
yeah, and then they receive them and then distribute them, and then the same thing, they collecting the letters and then send them back to us. So I think he's a great idea.
I am so excited, and
Está-
we're
es
going
muy-
old school. That's
Es
fantastic.
muy buena idea y podemos empezarlo a hacer ya inmediatamente.
Thank you, Chairwoman. So I will reach out to you very soon, and we'll get together and we'll go forward. And I think you can certainly count on the schools in Bonita Springs, between Juan working at the Bonita Springs Middle School and the high schools. I mean, I think, well, I would anticipate nothing less than 100% anticipation from the educational facilities in Bonita Springs. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Very nice to get to know you and look forward to working together. Thank you very much. Thank you. Juan, if we could introduce Patrick Sunnywick with Bonita Springs Utilities now. Patrick joined us in Mexico, and so he'll be familiar with some of the folks. And Patrick, I know you had indicated to me, and this is a layman's analysis, that some of the water systems in Isla Mujeres are identical or very similar to Bonita Springs Utilities, but then there's some other areas that we had discussed a possible interchange and working together. And I'd like your thoughts, your recap, and quite frankly, any information that you'd like to share.
Certainly, I'll be glad to. Thank you, Mayor Simmons.
Aquí tenemos a Patrick, que fue con nosotros a la reunión allá en Isla Mujeres, y él va a darnos una presentación acerca de las cosas que somos afines, que tenemos cosas de igual manera en la cuestión de el agua potable y el agua en general en Bonita Springs y en Isla Mujeres. Aquí está Patrick con nosotros.
First of all, thank you for your hospitality. It was a very warm, very informative visit down there. Talking about commonalities, we used a similar water treatment for our water supply system here, shallow wells in a superficial aquifer. We also use a very similar process to treat our wastewater.
Primeramente quiero agradecerles por todas las atenciones que recibimos cuando los visitamos. Fueron muy amables todos ustedes. Tenemos un sistema de agua potable muy similar al de ustedes. El sistema de filtración es exactamente el mismo que nosotros utilizamos aquí en Bonita Springs, y tenemos muchas cosas en común entre nuestras ciudades también.
Thank you, Juan. Similarities, differences, water consumption, big thing. Water consumption on Isla Mujeres is much less than ours. Of course, we have golf courses. We have a lot of landscaping, some of the other differences. You have a beautiful ocean. You don't need landscaping, things of that nature. So one of the big differences is per capita consumption of water. Not that that's going to be a challenge or anything that's going to prevent us from communicating, but it is a difference. Some of the things moving forward would like to offer is to do a technology exchange. Now, realizing that there is a language barrier, thank you, Juan, for helping out. However, when we talk about technical things with water and wastewater treatment, very quickly do you see, or at least I see, a gap in the language. So we'll need someone that can translate technical terms in the water, wastewater, let me say water resources, water resource field in general.
Ahora quiere él hablar acerca de diferencias. Las diferencias que hay en cuestión del agua es que ustedes tienen una área muy pequeña y realmente no necesitan tanta agua como para utilizarla en las áreas verdes, pero tienen un mar hermoso que no necesitan tantos árboles y plantas para mejorar la vista de la isla. Pero él está mencionando de la manera cómo se maneja el agua, de dónde la traen y cómo la capturan y cómo la manejan. Él está proponiendo que haya un intercambio tecnológico más que otra cosa para mejorar las condiciones y el manejo del agua, que él ve que es diferente el manejo que tienen ustedes. Lo que ve también que es una parte que no está muy de acuerdo o que se necesita mejorar es encontrar una persona que haga las traducciones técnicas del manejo del agua. Entonces es una de las partes que necesitamos desarrollar, la traducción de los términos técnicos de lo que es el manejo del agua.
In closure, I would like to suggest moving forward, I will take steps to go ahead and describe our process in detail, more detail than we had an opportunity when we were visiting. I'll take some of our plant information. I'll also take some of our challenges. I will try to go ahead and get that translated into Spanish accurately in writing. Give you English version, Spanish version, and start. So I will go ahead and take the lead from the district, from our utility. I just need to know who, on your end, Presidente Carrillo, you would like me to get in touch with.
Él quiere tomar la iniciativa para desarrollar los procedimientos que ellos tienen aquí en la compañía de la purificación y el manejo del agua, para traducirlos a inglés, español y enviárselos a ustedes también para allá. Y él solamente quiere preguntarles a ustedes qué persona, él se puede hacer responsable de estar aquí como representante para el intercambio tecnológico del agua, pero quiere saber si ustedes tienen a una persona designada para poder intercambiar esa información y trabajar con esa persona directamente, que sean el representante aquí y el representante de ustedes, para que puedan trabajar juntos, si tienen un representante ustedes.
Aquí el biólogo Carlos Barranco. Él es el director de ecología del Ayuntamiento de Las Mujeres, una persona especialista en varios temas, ya tiene mucha experiencia en la dirección de ecología desde la administración pública, y él podría ser el enlace de parte nuestra para tratar los temas de la
And he's presenting the biological engineer, Carlos is his name, and he's going to be in charge, and he has a lot of experience on water management and also ecology. He has plenty of knowledge, and he can be the person who can be working with you together.
Perfect,
And,
perfect.
and Patrick, I'll keep in touch with you if that's fine, just to
Certainly,
kind of
we'll
get
copy you.
status
Sure,
updates.
I'll copy everybody that was on the team, but I would like to work directly with them. Let
Absolutely.
everybody know, and that way we can all stay on board what's going on. We
You
all
don't
have
need me
ideas.
micromanaging you on those technical terms? What do you think, buddy?
We'll find out. We'll find out. But I look forward to the challenge. Thank you all again for your hospitality down there. Look forward to solving some problems and discussing some things. Hopefully we can help you. Thank you again. Thank you
Wonderful.
all.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you very much.
Nuevamente, Patrick agradece toda la atención y la hospitalidad que nos brindaron en la reunión que tuvimos allá con ustedes. Y bueno, él estará en contacto con el ingeniero para hacer el intercambio, las sugerencias y desarrollar nuevos procedimientos y compartir la tecnología que están proponiendo.
Great. And I'd like to now recognize Rick and Debbie Perry with Rotary International. You attended a lot of our meetings, and I think had planned on going on the trip right up till the last minute, I guess. But welcome and good morning, and please exchange the information and the thoughts that you have, please.
Well, thank you.
Good morning. Buenos dias.
Buenos dias. Thank you, Mayor Simmons and the City Council of Bonita Springs and Presidente Carrillo and the City Council of Isla Mujeres. We bring greetings from our Rotary Club of Bonita Beach Sunset. We're one of the 3 Rotary clubs here in Bonita Springs. And Rotary has 6 areas of focus, which are the areas that we could be helpful in. And I'll name them off, and Juan, if you could help right away translate them, otherwise it might go too far. But one is economic and community development.
Presidente Carrillo, quiero presentarle a los representantes del comité de Rotario de Bonita Springs. Ellos estaban hablando ellos estaban propuestos para ir a la reunión también, pero tuvieron algunas complicaciones y no pudieron acompañarnos en esta ocasión. Pero ahora están aquí y tienen 6 puntos importantes que quieren mostrar o compartir con ustedes, que es en lo que ellos pueden trabajar. El primer punto que él menciona es el desarrollo de
Economic and community development.
desarrollo económico y desarrollo de la comunidad.
And peace and conflict resolution.
No estoy seguro de la traducción, pero es
Peace.
paz y conflictos, en una resolución de paz y conflictos.
Water and sanitation.
Igualmente agua y sanidad.
Health of the mother and child.
Salud para niños y madres.
Disease prevention.
Y la prevención de enfermedades.
Basic education and literacy.
Educación básica y lectura.
These are the 6 areas of focus for the Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation. And those are areas that we as a club and the other 2 clubs in Bonita Springs could come together for a project, what we call a global grant.
Estas son las 6 áreas en donde el Club Rotario Internacional puede trabajar. Esas son sus metas y esa es la parte donde ellos tienen un fondo internacional en donde pueden apoyar y trabajar a nivel internacional, en donde ustedes pueden trabajar con ellos también.
And for example, we can also sponsor things like exchange students. Rotary has one of the largest exchange student programs in the world. And I myself was a product of a sister city exchange 40 years ago. And my exchange student from Germany now just bought a vacation home here in Bonita Springs a couple months ago.
Wow.
So.
Otro proyecto que ellos pueden apoyar es el intercambio de estudiantes. El Club Rotario Internacional tiene el programa de intercambio de estudiantes. De hecho, él es parte de un programa de intercambio entre ciudades hermanas también, entre Alemania, Inglaterra, perdón. Y él salió de ese tipo de programas de intercambio. Ahora compró una casa aquí en Bonita y ahora vive en Bonita Springs.
So there are many opportunities that our clubs here, and I know our Bonita Beach Sunset Club would welcome to be a part of as a project between the sister cities of Bonita Springs and Isla Mujeres, and we look forward to exploring those opportunities with everybody.
Ellos entonces están ofreciendo estos programas y quieren colaborar directamente en el programa de Ciudades Hermanas entre Bonita Springs e Isla Mujeres y están dispuestos a ser parte de este proyecto.
And Rick, I know we had talked probably a few months ago now that there is a Rotary International in Cancun, correct?
Yes,
But not currently in Isla Mujeres? How would that work?
There are 4 Rotary clubs in Cancun, one of them that has started all the other clubs, and it is possible that if that Isla Mujeres would like to start a Rotary Club, they could work together with one of the Cancun clubs to sponsor them. And I know that our club, as well as hopefully the other 2 Bonita Springs clubs, could be supportive of such an event.
Okay. Juan, and then we'll figure out who to follow up with.
El alcalde Peter Simmons pregunta acerca de si hay club rotarios internacionales en Cancún. Mencionan que hay 4 club rotarios en Cancún. Uno de ellos es el que ha ayudado a establecer los otros 3. Y también menciona que es posible que si ustedes están interesados en establecer e iniciar un club rotario en Isla Mujeres, este club de Cancún los podría apoyar para establecer su propio club rotario internacional en Isla Mujeres.
And we have been in touch with one of the Cancun Rotary clubs who is open to the idea of working with us.
Okay. And Isla Mujeres, obviously.
And Isla-
Yes.
And now we just would have to have the support in Isla Mujeres, yes.
Okay.
Han estado en comunicación con uno de los club rotarios de Cancún y han mostrado interés en apoyar el establecimiento de un club rotario en Isla Mujeres. Lo único que ellos quieren saber es si ustedes están interesados en establecer un club rotario en Isla Mujeres y iniciar un establecimiento oficialmente en Isla Mujeres del Club Rotario Internacional en Isla Mujeres.
And then, oh, thank you, and we know who to follow up with? Juan? Who would we follow up with on the
En
mayor's
este
team?
caso, pregunta el alcalde, el mayor Peter Simmons, ¿quién sería la persona que pudiera estar a cargo de hacer seguimiento de un establecimiento de un club rotario en Isla Mujeres? Si ustedes tienen un candidato que pudiera ser la persona.
Hay 6 clubes rotarios en Cancún. Entiendo que el presidente del Club Rotario de Bonita Springs ya está en contacto con alguno de ellos. Rico, como es el vínculo de muchos temas con la ciudad de Bonita Springs, nos podría ayudar a establecer ella, va avanzado en el conocimiento de quiénes son los clubes rotarios, pero además nos gustaría saber con qué club específicamente se han tenido contacto. ¿Quién está interesado para tener el acercamiento con ellos y hacer el rotario de la mujer?
He proposing Rico is the person in contact for the establishing the Club Rotario in Isla Mujeres, and he just need the information about which is the Club Rotary you are talking with, and then make contact with them, and continue developing the establishing of the Rotary Club in Isla Mujeres.
Yes, we look forward to, we'll pass on our contact information to Juan, and then we can get in contact, and we look forward to getting in contact with you, Rico.
Thanks. Thank you. Thanks. And just keep me on those emails, then I can see status and I won't have to wonder what's going on, and we'll get it done. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for today.
Take care. Okay, at this time, I'd like to call up Terry Lemaine with the Bonita Assistance Office, who's been
En este momento el
meetings and
alcalde está
conversations.
llamando a la representante de la ayuda de asistencia de la ciudad de Bonita Springs.
Hola. Muchas gracias, Juan. We run a social services agency here in the city of Bonita Springs. 50% of our clients we serve are Latino descent, and 50% of our staff are also Latino descent.
Ella representa una organización que es diseñada para ayudar a la comunidad de Bonita Springs. El 50% de las personas que ella atiende son latinos y el 50% de sus colaboradores, de su equipo de trabajo, son latinos también.
We assist with comida, food, financial assistance, and in times of crisis, such as a hurricane.
Ellos proveen de comida, de ayuda económica y en ocasiones en cuestiones de emergencia, por ejemplo, ayuda en huracanes también.
We help make our citizens productive after a time of crisis by bridging the gap and helping them get their needs that they need to be productive citizens in our city.
Ellos ayudan a las personas para ponerlas de regreso como para seguir trabajando y seguir siendo productivas en la comunidad después de un evento de emergencia como lo puede ser un huracán o una otra situación de emergencia.
Anything I can do to help or our team, I'd be more than happy to give our time and treasure to help make this a productive and enjoyable collaboration. Un momento, por favor.
I'm sorry. And she says anything she can do to help in Isla Mujeres and establishing a program, she will be very happy to help.
And who would be the appropriate
Creo que
person?
tengo.
Check for contact on
No,
his
I
team?
think I have to change my language to
Yeah.
Spanish. That happened when you get
Sounded
distracted.
good to me.
Dice que ella está dispuesta a ayudar en lo que pueda para apoyar a las ciudades, a los residentes también de Isla Mujeres, y igualmente pues es un programa para ayuda de la comunidad de Bonita Springs. Y perdón por la distracción, y me cambié al inglés hablándoles en inglés también a ustedes. Disculpen el error.
Muchas gracias and buenos días.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you,
Mayor.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I'd like to introduce Bob Rozier, last but certainly not least, with Rozier Insurance and the Bonita Springs Chamber of Commerce. Member.
La siguiente persona es la persona que representa la Cámara de Comercio de Bonita Springs.
Buenos dias. I have also served as past chairman of the Bonita Springs Chamber of Commerce about 3 years ago, and I've also served on the Bonita Springs Economic Development Council.
Representa a la Cámara de Comercio de Bonita Springs, pero también está representando al Comité de Desarrollo Económico de la región.
I actually stand corrected on it. It's actually Bonita Springs Estero Economic Development Council. However, anyway, we really look forward to being able to have a work with you on a collaboration, also an exchange of ideas on how we can explore ways that we can increase each other's business and from our area and also in your area, and see what our similarities are and also what our needs are.
Él quiere mostrar o dar su opinión acerca de las oportunidades que puede haber de intercambio económico y cultural, económico más que nada en la área de la Bonita Springs y de Naples, de hecho del suroeste de la Florida, ver las similitudes que hay y las oportunidades que puede haber de intercambio comercial.
In the end, we all have businesses in our area that rely upon a strong economy. We are primarily a tourist-based economy within our area here. We've gone from an agricultural base in our area to tourist base over the last 30 years or 40 years. But in any event, again, we do look forward to exchanging ideas with you all and seeing what we can do to work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Él dice que tiene alrededor de 30 o 40 años de estar desarrollando actividades económicas aquí en la región, y una de las partes importantes de nuestra región es el turismo, igualmente la parte de la agricultura. Él quiere mencionar que está dispuesto a trabajar con ustedes para buscar las oportunidades que se puedan dar en cuestión de intercambio económico con Isla Mujeres también.
Great. And now, what I'd like to do is turn this over to Mayor Carrillo and his team for any questions or comments or presentations.
quiere darle la oportunidad al presidente Carrillo y su grupo de trabajo para presentaciones, preguntas y participaciones de ustedes, presidente Carrillo.
De nuevo, buenos días. Estamos muy interesados por quien maneja la asistencia social en caso también de desastres. Aquí tenemos una cultura muy arraigada en materia de huracanes. Ponemos a su disposición el conocimiento que tenemos en materia de prevención antes, durante y después de un fenómeno natural. Quintana Roo, todo el estado de Quintana Roo es un área propensa a huracanes, igual que el sur de la Florida. Entonces, me parece que podemos tener intercambios en esta materia. Tenemos mucho conocimiento, mucho know-how, como le llaman ahí en Estados Unidos, y podemos ayudarnos muchísimo porque somos lugares propensos a los desastres, y bueno, sabemos que estos desastres traen consigo complicaciones para la gente, para la ciudadanía. Entonces ponemos a su disposición eso en materia de protección civil.
He's very interested also in the interchanging of knowledge and working together with the assistant office. They have same situation, a lot of risks of hurricanes, and they have been developing different programs before, after, and through the events. But definitely they want to be together, work together, and to developing even better on this topic of prevention, and when they have problems for that type of problems, the situations of hurricanes, we have the same situation is here in Bonita Springs too. ¿Alguna otra sugerencia?
Saludarles, poner a su disposición las mujeres de como ciudad hermana. Estamos esperando la copa del alcalde para acompañar al alcalde Peter Simmons allá a Bonita Springs y bueno, estrechar los lazos fraternos que se están, bueno, que ya se hicieron entre las mujeres y Bonita Springs.
He is expecting the day to come over for the Mayor's Cup and come and visiting the city and making stronger the relationship between Bonita Springs and Isla Mujeres. He's looking for come over and bring his team over here too.
That's wonderful. And do we have those dates confirmed, Juan? April?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
It's April 12, 13, and the 14th. 14th is Sunday, is the day of when we're presenting all the awards, and we start playing on Friday. And
Play right up to Palm Sunday, huh? All right. But 12th, 13th, and 14th.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Estaremos, ustedes ya tienen la invitación oficial y estaremos muy pendientes de su visita con su grupo de trabajo y todavía hay espacio para traer equipo de fútbol si se animan, aquí los esperamos. He's very happy and he's ready to come.
Wonderful. And all the ideas that we exchanged and information that we exchanged will certainly be following up with immediately.
Y todas las presentaciones, las ideas, las propuestas que se han hecho, se les dará seguimiento y tenemos personas que están de responsables en estos proyectos, en estas propuestas que estamos haciendo, y pues darle seguimiento y seguir trabajando para que este enlazamiento pues dé resultados positivos.
Por supuesto que sí, y como hemos acordado, el vínculo principal entre Bonita Springs y por parte nuestra es el director de turismo, amén del vínculo que ahora establezcamos en materia de ecología con
he's agree, and he has a person who's going to be responsible for each of these topics we've been talking about. Rico is going to be one of them, from the director of tourism, the engineer of I forget the medio ambiente. He's ready. They go for working on the water management and ecology, and the director of education also. She's going to be in charge of the interchanging of letters and any programs for education. So yes, we have set persons who's going to be working
Wonderful.
on
No,
and
that-
just follow up.
No, that's fabulous, and I don't know if time would allow, but hopefully on April 12th, Mayor, we could set up some meetings with some folks here that spoke today. I see Patrick nodding his head. April 12th is good, and Chairwoman, April 12th will work for you. And Perry's, everybody, April 12th. Please ask them how their flight schedule looks for April 12th, and we can have meetings on Friday the 12th before we start playing soccer.
Podríamos establecer una fecha tentativa en abril 12, previo a la Copa del Alcaldes, viernes, si pudieran estar por aquí, tener una reunión de trabajo con ya datos ya más específicos y proyectos más definidos. ¿Cómo estaría su horario, su itinerario para abril 12? La Copa del Alcaldes en esos días 12, 13 y 14. 14 es domingo, el día de la Copa de la final. Si ustedes estarían disponibles para el día 12 y planear reuniones de trabajo aquí en Bonita Springs.
Por supuesto que sí, nos parece correcto.
No te escuché claramente. Sí, ahora sí. Te escuchamos nosotros. Sí, adelante.
Nos parece una fecha adecuada el 12 de abril. ¿En qué horario tomar nota y podamos tener esto?
He says they are working. They're going to see the schedule for flying, but the 12 is looking good for them to be here to having meetings.
And for the meetings. Wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. That'll be, I think, time-wise, probably more than enough time, but certainly enough time for us all to be ready for the meetings on April 12th. So that's fabulous.
Está muy
Thank
bien,
you.
estaremos trabajando y les estaremos enviando información para dejarles saber de los temas que se estarán tomando aquí el día 12 de abril. Okay?
Wonderful. And council, any questions or anybody? We could certainly.
No, only to say, Peter, thank you. This has come a very long way, a very constructive way, since the first meeting that occurred back in Bonita Bay.
Right.
When the president was here, we were pleased to see him then. So thank you to our friends at Isla Maharas and to everybody who's been involved in this.
Great. Thank you, Peter.
Quiere agradecer el consejero Peter acerca de la participación y la oferta de trabajo que se ha realizado durante este último año. Agradecerles a ustedes en Isla Mujeres todo el esfuerzo y la dedicación que han tenido para que este programa funcione. Los queremos, quiere agradecerles esa oportunidad de trabajo con ustedes y seguir trabajando juntos. Presidente Carrillo, si usted tiene algún otro comentario y para cerrar la conferencia.
Always. Juan, you can take your phone call, but I think. Juan, were you still translating some information? Yeah, maybe it's good.
Adelante, presidente. Sí.
Juan, no se escucha
Ah,
bien
there
la
we go.
llamada. Coméntale al mayor, ya tenemos problemas con el audio.
They have problem with the audio, and he's just let us know that.
Tell him he needs to take either the late flight on the 11th or the early flight on the 12th, because we have meetings on the 12th.
Los últimos 2 minutos no los hemos escuchado bien.
The last 2 minutes they didn't hear very well.
Okay.
Básicamente lo que les estaba proponiendo es que si pueden estar el día 12 aquí con nosotros.
Yeah, yeah.
El 12 aquí con nosotros para hacer la reunión de trabajo y les estaremos compartiendo la información acerca de los temas que vamos a tomar.
Por supuesto que sí, con mucho gusto. Sería bueno tener un listado de temas para que también nosotros tengamos listas las presentaciones y el intercambio de información sea todavía más efectivo y sea de mayor provecho para ambas ciudades.
He's gonna do the reservations of the flights and everything, and they will be here.
Great.
They need also to get the information about the topics and the information about what we're gonna be talking about to make sure they got answers and, you know.
Absolutely. It'll be a follow-up on today's meeting and discussion.
Definitivamente les vamos a dar la información a ustedes también durante estos días para que ustedes la tengan y estén listos para la reunión el día 12 aquí en Bonita Springs.
Ok, muchas gracias, Juan. Te agradezco mucho. Y muchas gracias al alcalde Peter Simmons y a todo el consejo de la ciudad por estar tan pendientes y estrechar estos lazos de hermandad entre Isla Mujeres y Bonita Springs.
Thank you very much, Mayor Peter Simmons and the board members for the opportunity and making this project so good and close each other.
Right. We've come a long way. We have a long way to go.
Hemos recorrido un gran trayecto, pero tenemos otro gran trayecto que recorrer todavía enfrente de nosotros.
Y lo vamos a hacer juntos.
And we're going to be doing it together.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Thank you very much. And
Absolutamente, gracias. Y ha sido un placer estar compartiendo con ustedes. It's a pleasure to be talking to them too.
thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Gracias.
Muchas gracias. Adios.
Hasta la vista. Hasta la vista.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Gracias, gracias, presidente.
All right.
Gran saludo.
Wonderful.
Muy bien, gracias.
Juan, do you have any closing thoughts or anybody on the discussion?
I just want to say one thing. Thank you for the passion. This brings us as a community all together. You know, I was talking with the council about, you know, I live here in Bonita Springs for 32 years. And we came and we live in Bonita. It was the Bonita RV trailer park outside of Bonita Springs. And it was like a little town down there. And we were saying like, oh, we're going to go to town, you know, like something unreachable. That was the way we was talking about what we're looking for. It was a bad road, and it takes like half an hour to get in town to buy our stuff and go back to our place.
Right.
Today is a different situation. This is a community. We see more people around. This is peaceful, clean, beautiful Bonita Springs where everybody comes together. And I'm very happy and proud to be living in this city. This program, it brings us together also. Like we were saying, we have a lot of things in common, and we're looking for good opportunities for all of us. So the interchanging of teachers and educations and the children to be able to see the other side of the world or part of the world, it's a great opportunity. I'm very happy. I'm doing this because I love my city, I love my people, the kids. I work in the school, and I've seen that opportunity to develop in something else and then minds, open minds, breaking those gaps in between us. Thank you, and I'm very happy to have you as our mayor and the group of persons who they represent in the community of Bonita Springs. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Juan. And I think April 12th, team, we have our marching orders for April 12th, and that's going to be fantastic. And thank you very, very much, everybody, for being here. And Chairwoman, I would just... abundance of respect and excitement to be working with you and everybody. Nice to meet you on the spot. We have homework assignments and I look forward to it. Yes, can we do that? With the council? Why don't we all come up? Yeah, come on up, guys. And ladies, you just stand right here and council can join us or stand behind us, whatever works best.
What do we want to do?
Is that what it is?
All right, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3.
Thank you so much. I'll be following up with you very soon. Okay?
So nice meeting you.
Thank you, one. Thanks, Mike. Thank you, my friend. Yes, yes.
Oh my God. Maybe we could do the next one.
Yeah. I like the flexibility with you. Yeah, no, definitely. Great to see you, buddy.
Likewise.
Yes, take care. Okay, council and everybody, thank you so much for that information. That was very, very informative. As you can see, we've basically been discussing and working at this, with this, for this for about a year now. Actually, just about a year this week, honestly. And we've made some great progress, some great strides, some great introductions, some great friendships, and very much looking forward to it. So thanks, everybody, for that. I believe we're at item E. Is that correct? A presentation? No, excuse me. We covered E with the zoning board. F, presentation from Neighborhood Services on the code enforcement process, green sheet number 1903074. Hello, Arlene.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Back on January 16th, there was a discussion about our community aesthetics and our role of staff in neighborhood services. And today we'd like to, we also, I know the council receives many emails about the code enforcement process, and many folks are sometimes need a little bit additional information on how due process works and the actual time frame it takes us to move through the process. So we wanted to provide council a little bit of an update on the complaint-driven neighborhood services actions we take, as well as the proactive items that they work on, as well as looking at some roles and responsibilities that they have. This is the first, we'll keep this one brief, the first of two. We're going to come back with a second one on the additional roles that neighborhood services provides, such as the residential permits, emergency management, licensing, and liens. And with that, I'd like Tony Backhurst to come forward and begin, but I did want to let you know we have our whole, well, everyone except for Peggy Douglas and Alana, very important roles, but we have our team here today, which unfortunately Chris Campbell cannot be here, but Charles Thomason is here, Officer Michael Guerrero, Officer Angel Cruz, and Officer Jason Albert. So we're very proud of their work and their efforts in the community, and want to make sure that you all have an opportunity to see their smiling faces this morning as well.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. For the record, Tony Backhurst. I'm going to cover off, hopefully, everything that Arlene said I would. I'll try and get through. It's basically an overview of the departmental responsibilities, cover off some of the process, as well as some statistics for 2018 year. We do try to stick with our mission statement. Everything that we do with regards to our processes, we obviously follow constitutional requirements, but customer service is key for us. when we're dealing with the attempted compliance, customer service is always going to work the best, and we try to fulfill this on a daily basis. The city is divided up into 4 sections.
It's like Berlin, huh?
The red section, just for everybody, just so everyone does know, is Mike Guerrero. The teal-green colored section is Angel Cruz. The orange is Jason Albert, and the blue section on the west, which is out on the beach, is Chuck Tomlinson, and it's also his birthday as well today. I just thought I'd bring that up.
And it's a big one, right?
It's a very special birthday, yes. So our main roles and responsibilities, many people refer to us as code enforcement, but neighborhood services is the term of the department. We do code enforcement, permitting, we do residential rental properties, licensing, emergency management preparation and oversight, and we also handle the lien permit and open case searches on every property transfer within the city of Bonita Springs. So today, as Arlene mentioned, we try and do it in 2 presentations. I'm going to concentrate on code enforcement today. These are the issues that predominantly take up our time with this. We deal with property maintenance issues, unpermitted work, signs, stormwater conveyance issues. All of our inspectors are certified. Enforcement of development standards, zoning infractions enforcement, unregistered vehicles, and these are the kind of bread and butter of our days. We also provide liaison to other agencies. We work with Sheriff's Office, Animal Services, Department of Bureau of Professional Regulation, BSU, and we do conduct monthly meetings with those agencies. Our activities in 2018, just to give an idea of the workload, we covered last year just under 14,000 code cases we actually responded to. Rental inspections, 744 for a total of 14,711 total activities, and that is split up into the 4 zones. Our response time, our goal here is to get to 90%. We're actually getting a pretty high average. 97 are investigated within 3 days. Anything obviously safety related, we're going to health safety issues, we're going to get there within hours. And we work in conjunction, obviously, with other departments to ensure that too. Our proactive is at 89%. So 11% of ours are complaint generated, and when we're getting, there's some further maps down the road, you'll see that our proactive cases are invariably in certain areas where we're responding, where we see other things, and we try to nip as much as we can in the bud. However, other stuff does bubble up. But with 4 people for the whole city, it can be somewhat challenging. The due process, which is a requirement in law, we're governed under Section 162 of state statute. This provides us with our outlines for notice to an individual, and then it states reasonable time to comply. Reasonable is a very loose word, and it can vary from case to case. Our best case scenario is a 2-visit call. That is, we go out, identify the issue, and then we'll attempt to get compliance as quickly as possible. That's where, with the mission statement, the customer service comes in. When you're dealing with people, we want to obtain compliance as quickly as we possibly can. Complex cases can take months and years to actually obtain the compliance. These are challenging. There is extensive research, formal notices and hearings are required. We can do daily, weekly, or monthly inspections, and it can necessitate monetary expenditures by the city with abatement and going through processes, such as in the event of a foreclosure. Throughout this, one thing with the time that the officers, the inspectors spend, administrative assistance is required. There's constant communication, there is notices, there is mail, certified mail, postings, and then obviously the hearing process too. Our hearing process, if no progress occurs, our goal is always through informal efforts. If it doesn't work, then it's going to be a formal notice of violation, which is a warning letter in essence. It's a notice that we have found a violation, and we'll provide reasonable time to comply. If it's not achieved, then a notice of hearing is issued and it will go before the hearing examiner. We hold 4 hearing examiner sessions per year, so it's 1 every 3 months. If the examiner finds that the violation does in fact exist, there is then a date for compliance, and then they can face the imposition of fines. Then at that secondary hearing, which is going to be 3 months later, the hearing examiner determines whether the compliance has been achieved, which is follow-up inspections by the inspectors. Then there is a finding and an imposition of fines, which then can become a lien on the property. Subsequent to the lien on the property, we will still conduct, which is how we get into years, we'll conduct monthly inspections on these properties. As you can see, the worst case scenarios are in the extreme minority. We through 2018 obtained voluntary compliance on 10,000, almost 11,000 cases, and there was 35 that went through this process. So the level of compliance is very high. You know, we strive for 100%, and we're pretty close there with that. So just some statistics for 2018. An average code case requires 4 inspections. So each call that comes in, that's pretty much our run-of-the-mill, is going to be 4 times an inspector will go out. Our administrative staff average 200 lien permit and open case property searches per month, which is a considerable amount of searches for transfers, titles. Each inspector, these 4 inspectors you're sitting here, they're averaging 17 code case inspections and 2 rental inspections per day. So they're actually covering 19 activities a day, and that does not include, when I'm doing the analysis of this, that doesn't include the phone calls and the additional uploading of photographs into their computers and that stuff. So it's a fairly high tasking for the inspectors. This was an interest to me when I actually did the run on this. Long-term cases average 41 inspections. So the ones that have gone on for years, we're averaging 41 inspections, which is considerable. A considerable amount of time is devoted to these. Here's a map from our software that shows the ones that became formal. We didn't gain initial voluntary compliance. This is kind of each little orange dot will show how that actually is spread out. And when you look at a heat map, you can see where we concentrate our efforts. This is where the cases are requiring more inspections, more process. And actually, on the subsequent presentation, I can do the same thing with rentals as well, so you can look at that too. So we're in the process of developing strategic reporting for the department. We're going to create a biannual report of statistics so we can analyze all the data that we are getting. For the purpose of using it, we can identify trends, hotspots, issues in seasonal that come. It can be a good predictor for us moving forward where we can allocate resources. And it also brings an awareness, not just within our department, but outside to the city staff as well as council and mayor to see where there are the areas that do require further work. And it does assist with us deploying resources, especially if we can establish trends. We can concentrate on, with the communications department, possibly in public education prior to issues coming along. And just to reiterate, we've covered off code enforcement. These are the other issues that we would like to cover in a subsequent presentation, the other issues that are under our department. And any questions?
Council? Nice presentation, good information, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I think it's helped us to at least me to understand things a little better. I just have some observations. In the involuntary cases, the enforcement mechanism is a lien. But if the people don't care whether they get a lien because it only is active when they try to sell the property, what happens to those cases even if they don't comply? Do you have to keep going and say you're not complying?
It will be ongoing. This is one of our
that's like
challenges, especially when we're dealing with the complainants who rightly are frustrated with an issue not being rectified, and it is a lien. And we've discussed at all levels, including through legal, possible other alternative
So
measures.
do we have any cases in that? I mean, how many do we have in the city? We've gone through a whole process and we haven't resolved it because it hasn't been fixed. Do we know how many are in there?
I would hesitate to give an exact number, but I would say that we've got probably between 20 and 30 cases where it's ongoing, where they are less than stellar.
They're not cooperating in any way?
Yeah.
And there are people like that, okay. And when you're talking about proactive, is that the areas where if you see, like we have some deterioration in the condition along certain streets and things, you would go in and say, let's try to fix that up. So that's how, if we want to beautify the city, you would be people that we would have to ask to help us.
Yeah, the inspectors, when they go out, they can go out and they will see issues when they're going out. As you can see, the heat map will show that
Right.
it's not necessarily spread throughout our entire, the geography of the city, and there are areas that are concentrated. So when they're out there, they will address issues that they see. They're going to address what they're going out for initially, but then they will follow up and go in.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I think you have a really hard job because you are dealing with people who don't want to hear that they're not doing the right thing. So thank you for your effort. It's really very much appreciated.
Greg?
Great job. Thank you,
Laura?
Tony.
Great job, thank you.
Peter?
Yeah, great job as well. Quick question. Any idea about what kind of violations are the largest things as a group that you deal with? Or is it all over the place?
To break down the statistics, property maintenance issues are probably one of our highest issues within the category of code enforcement issues. Lot mows are a seasonal issue where we deal with that. And the time frame of the way we deal with it through due process can become frustrating to the complainants and to us sometimes, but we have to honor, the obligations. Certain areas will dictate certain complaints, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Mike?
Just keep up the good work. Thank you.
Fred?
Yeah, one question or suggestion, but I don't want to take it up in the meeting. I would like you to come back and tell us what would we need to do to our maintenance code or whatever to reduce seeing junk scattered around in yards, boats, extra cars parked in the grass. And I know your predecessor said, oh, we don't need to upgrade our code. So we got all we can do everything we need to do, but yet I know when I go out walking with the mayor on campaigning for different candidates, in certain neighborhoods, we see stuff. And I call y'all, but I think we need to buck up some of our maintenance code areas. Just look at it, talk to Derek, talk to me, and we can bring it back to council.
Absolutely.
Great.
But
Thank you very
You're
much.
doing a good job.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you very much.
Very good.
Dynamite, thanks a lot. Okay, mayor and council member items. Presentation and conference call, we did that. Look at that. Item B, Bonita Springs Utilities Water Tower, discussion of. Certainly went down there. We've known this was coming for a while. There certainly have been a lot of outreach to the community, from the community, social media with the community. Naples Daily News has covered this, and I think some of the television stations have as well. And it's just, it's been there for almost 40 years. There's many in the high rises that are happy that it's down. There's many boaters that are upset that it's down. There's many history buffs and people that like iconic things and property markers, and I can't say channel markers because everybody that knows boating, that's not accurate. However, I'll just throw it in there. Fishing markers, kayaking markers, outdoor enthusiasts, you name it. There's certainly been some despair and some emotion around the fact that it's coming down. So just wanted to have a discussion, or a brief discussion, anything we'd like to discuss. But certainly when I was down there last week, and I had discussed this with John Jenkins, and I think I might have even mentioned it at council, but if this day comes, what can we salvage from it? So, Matt, can you provide an update on the letters that say Bonita Springs, that I have had discussions, and we've had some discussions where they were torching it and taking it down piece by piece? There were some letters that apparently were in discussions to salvage.
Just simply, BSU was aware that you were interested in maybe preserving the moniker, Bonita Springs, for some future purpose. John Jenkins did reach out to us and ask, if that were to be the case, what form or size, would we be looking for, which, I communicated back to him that an 8x10 sheet, would be something we could store until such time that you found a place for it. They did indicate that would be some form of change to their contractual relationship with the contractor. They have taken it down. We have not heard back as to what that cost would be, but we did communicate, what if they were able to address that need, what we would be looking for to be able to do something with it in the future.
Right. And Arlene, I know you had spoken, there'd been some outreach, and you and I actually spoke with Nigel Fullock with Arts and Public Places, should this come to fruition?
Correct. And additionally, Matt has an estimate cost of moving the pieces if we could have it cut in those pieces, that particular size, so that it didn't require any special or additional permitting to move it on the roadways. But yes, the mayor and I had a call with Chairman Nigel Fullock of the Art and Public Places Board regarding the opportunity, and if it was council's pleasure, he would be welcoming to talk to the Art and Public Places Board about a future of what would be used for the letters and how they could be utilized in potentially other locations within the city. One of the things he mentioned was the potential of near I-75 as a welcome feature, but that would be something that would have to be explored. And additionally, our Public Places Board would be able to possibly work with letters of interest or RFPs to come up with a plan of how they could be properly installed, meeting all of regulations, wind code, hurricane, everything that would be required to have it be engineered properly in the future. But that would be probably a long-term process for the Art and Public Places Board to provide recommendations back to the council.
Right. So this was last week, just getting the calls, seeing the emotion, going down there. Something that I moved forward with, but I wanted to very much have a council discussion on. It's just one of those things that happens the week in between meetings, and so sorry for the delay or any lack of communication, but wanted to just get council's thoughts and good, bad, or indifferent on this if we were to move forward.
I don't understand what you're talking about in regard to letters. It's more than the sign Bonita Springs is a lot bigger than 8x10, isn't that the case? What are you talking about?
It's approximately 22 feet by 40
It's 22 feet by 45 feet wide. We'd
So
cut it in.
what letters are you talking about?
So the Bonita is stacked on top of Springs, and you would cut each individual letter into an 8x10 sheet.
So you're going to have a letter 8x10? Each letter is going to be 8x10?
Approximately,
Yes. How many letters are in Bonita Springs?
We'd have to count them up.
How much do they weigh? You're talking about
total
keeping them
weight
on.
is 12,000 pounds.
12,000 pounds?
Small weight.
So, I don't understand at all how that would even be useful in any way.
All I can tell you is to move it, an 8x10 sheet is really what it would need to be in, and that would lend itself roughly to, some grouping of letters being cut.
So then you would put each of them on a stand or something, and then it would say Bonita Springs. Is that what that's?
That would be something to look at in the future. Feasibly you could re-weld them together and reassemble it, or you could do what you're talking about, or who knows.
So there were little blocks with the letters on it.
Yeah, like if you go to the Orange Bowl, or what used to be the Orange Bowl.
Like Hollywood up in.
Well, no, it's like Marlins Ballpark, they have different Orange Bowl cubes out there from the Orange Bowl. I'm not saying we should do that, but that's kind of, how much does it cost to?
I don't know the cost to
Arlene said you
cut
had a
it.
cost on something.
To move it. We have an estimate of a cost to move it around.
To move it is around $4,000,
Oh.
which is reasonable. I don't know the cost because BSU's contractor would have to cut it down to size because
Oh.
you know, at the current size, it's not really movable at
Mhm.
22 feet by 45. And so they reached out to us, we communicated the size, but we haven't heard back as to what that fee would be.
What did the Autumn Public Places Board initial reaction from an aesthetic point of view? Like, is this a starter, is it not a starter? What was their view?
So they haven't had an opportunity to meet as a board. It was just a phone call
What was
between the
Nigel's
mayor,
view?
with Nigel, that, and when the mayor explained the issue, he would be willing to talk with the board about what opportunities there were available. We need to understand it would be a long-term process because there needs to be either an architect or an engineer involved, or an artist involved, because there's engineering of wind load, of what needs to be.
But wouldn't a more appropriate focus be DPZ anyway? Because I'm very much in favor of trying to, you know, have an iconic blah, blah, whatever it is we're talking about at the interchange there to identify Bonita. So I think DPC has already given us some direction there in concept, which none of us have agreed to one way or the other, but that's the direction. And art in public places, I'm not sure that's the right board, you know. And also, you know, historic preservation, if you cut it in letters, it's not really replicating what it was, the iconic thing there. So I have an issue with that. And the cost, I don't know what the heck, and we already have a historic building downtown that is going to require quite a good number cost there to bring that up to where it should be. So I'm not sure that that's the best use of our financings, but we don't know anything because we don't know what any of this is going to cost. You know, we don't know to put, how many letters is that anyway, Bonita Springs?
6.
No, you're just going to put Bonita in, you have to put Springs, right? How many letters is that?
Yeah, 6 and 6.
So it's 12?
It's 13.
So 13, oh, lucky 13. So we had 13 letters that have to be installed in some way.
Well, I said 6 and 6 because wasn't the S cut off on its own?
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
It's not in a condition
One
that
of
you
the
can even
S's,
see the
yeah.
letters. It's face down. But, you know, the assumption, what I communicated in the email, is to cut it into 8 by 10 pieces to be movable. That's not the letter being cut out as a silhouette. It's like a
Okay.
panel. That could mean that letters are together, you know, they might be bifurcated. It's just a size that seems, given the way it was laid out on the tank, that's manageable, that would probably give you the most contiguous letters. And in that email, the assumption was if the S has been parted out to find it and keep it.
Right.
If that's possible.
If that's possible.
If that's possible,
And
because
then-
they've already started cutting pieces up.
The aggregate weight's 12,000 pounds. It'd probably be less than that, but in 8 by 10 sheets, it's not very hard for one of our contractors to move. And we did take one out and took a look and explained, and that's where we got the price to move it.
12,000 is for all?
The
all of
whole.
The whole thing?
whole
And each
panel.
one would be a 12th of them, so 1,000 pounds each one, half a ton.
Yeah, more or less for easy figuring.
Mhm.
Greg?
I just had, I mean, obviously, what'd you say, 22 by 40? I mean, that's an awful big area. Wouldn't it be more economical and feasible to take an 8 by 10 sheet of it, either sandblast it, whatever, and paint a picture of the tower on it? Have someone do a mural of the tower on an actual piece of the tower, and maybe put it downtown by the Lyles Hotel or something like that, or by the water tower downtown. And it's still art in public places, it's still a piece of the actual tower, it's just not a sheet. And now we don't have, I mean, that's an awful big area to engineer and put somewhere 22 by 40. I mean, it's a great idea, it's just, I hate to put it this way, if we really wanted to save it, we should have paid 50 grand a year to maintain it and had it up there as an icon from the get-go. So,
Yeah,
just a
and
thought.
I know, and it was just an initial conversation, but Nigel we had discussed keeping intact one side, the Bonita Springs, and then with schools or children have an art contest or something for the other side, that would obviously be blank to paint something on the other side, but. Laura?
Yep.
Peter?
Nice.
Mike?
I think just overall, it's kind of too big, really, to do anything. I really like Greg's idea of just doing one panel and having them repaint, a smaller portion of it. I think that's a good idea, because otherwise I was just gonna say scrap the whole thing, because
No pun.
we saved, a historic water tower. This one's not as old or historic. It's, sad to see it go, but, I just don't think it's really something we should save that big of a piece, so I'd be happy with that 8x10 with a mural painted on it. I think that's a good idea.
Fred? Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, I think we ought to do something, and I think Greg's idea is really workable, and it's, by being smaller, lends itself to a lot of different locations, so I think we ought to pursue it. I'm not sure who, I think you want to have somebody that's very talented, a professional person implementing this thing, not some people that are not.
Are the pieces flat, or are they rounded, or what do they look like?
They're less rounded than you might imagine,
Uh-huh.
because they had a gusset, which they had a piece of steel on the inside that was curved.
Mhm.
And so when they started to dismantle it, as part of the dismantling process, they cut that bent steel, and so the steel's already started to relax.
Mhm.
And if you cut it into an 8x10 sheet, it'll
Mhm.
most likely be pretty darn close to
flat.
to flat. It's, I mean, if you go out, they're along the right-of-way along Hickory Island now. If you go out and look, you'll see it's not really curved like you might imagine.
Mhm.
And there would be more as you cut it down.
I would go with Greg's idea.
Yeah. Well, at least explore it for the cost, because even the metal, what is it, I mean, it's pretty thick metal or something? What is it? Is it thin?
That's a relative. It's not very thick. It's maybe 3/8 of an inch.
Okay,
It's-
and I mean, whatever it's made of, does it have some maintenance issue? I mean, I know that when it had water, you had to maintain it both on the inside and the outside. I mean, is it that durable? Is metal that's durable? I mean, I don't, or is it another problem? I mean, that's what I'm getting at.
The plate steel is pretty durable. I mean, you
Mhm.
can park it outside for a pretty long time
Mhm.
and not
So you
have to
could-
worry about it pitting with rust.
So you can paint it and it'll be maintained, and it's a good service to do that. Okay.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
So I just want
yeah,
to
Matt.
clarify, or
Yeah, no, but that's what we want to clarify. So is the direction to staff to look for the 8x10 piece?
The best piece.
The best?
The best piece.
and we still have coordination to do with BSU to ideally their folks could cut off a section for us.
The piece that has the B and the S on it, how's that? Or the B and the whatever.
I can guarantee that's
We're
bigger
gonna,
than
we're gonna,
That's
we're
our
gonna
initials.
be in the S of it. Yeah, that's a good one.
Like it or not.
BSBS, right?
But we're gonna paint
Bonita
over it
Springs Bull
anyway.
Sharks,
We're
we
gonna paint
are.
over it, but with a proviso, I mean, to use sensible judgment in regard to cost. Okay.
That's great. Okay, thanks, Council. We're going to look at item C here. Ratify Mayor Peter Simmons signing to include the City of Bonita Springs in the attached March 15th, 2019 letter to Governor Ron DeSantis regarding the Caloosahatchee minimum flow and level rule update. This is Green Sheet 1903-081. And Derek?
So moved.
Yep.
Second.
Motion and a second, but Derek, anything to add?
No, I haven't heard from all of the cities that were involved in the lawsuit at this point, but from the cities I have heard, it seems that the political route is the preferred route.
Okay. So there's been a motion and a second. Council, is there further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Carr?
Aye.
Mayor Simmons?
Aye.
Councilman O'Flynn?
Aye.
Councilman Gibson? Councilman Forbes?
Aye.
Councilwoman Caramba?
Aye.
Councilman DeWitt?
Aye. Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Just a question I just noticed on here where it says Mayor Jim Bosch. I think they had a new election today.
Yeah, right.
And Riverville got it, so we didn't need to
Whoever
change
it is.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's today.
This morning.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
This
That's
morning.
right. I always thought their meetings were a day off, but they're actually not. That's right. Okay. Dynamite.
Different latitude, though.
Yeah. 9:30 start, too. Review and approve, this is item D, review and approve the Outreach Committee's recommendation to select Media Vista Group of Bonita Springs proposal for RFP number 19-04 for the production and management of the Fiesta Bonita event at Riverside Park on Saturday, May 4th, 2019, from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. This is my item, green sheet 1903-080. Laura, do you have any information you'd like to share on this, or a straightforward RFP, or just anything as the, nothing at all to add?
Motion to
Okay.
approve.
Motion to approve in a second. And
Second.
Juan, did you have anything to add? Okay.
Mayor?
Motion to approve in a second. Discussion.
Well,
Yes,
well,
Amy.
I just want to comment on the material that was given to us, and I think that when I read the application form that Laura, I believe Laura put together, I thought it was really important and informative of what was asked. But I have to say that the material, and I'm going to vote in favor of this because it's going to be fine, whatever the, but I don't think that the application from either candidate really fulfilled the RFP. And I just was able to talk to Laura briefly before the meeting. I didn't have time before. And I guess this is the first time that we've gone to RFP for an event, all right? So I just, from a process point of view, I think I'd like to have a little education about that. And also, are we approving, I know that we budgeted $10,000 for this event. Is that what we're approving here, that this RFP organization is going to be paid the $10,000? I don't understand where that comes in at all, and it's not clear from any of the material that's here. So, just,
Along the same line, that was my question.
You know.
Are we privatizing this
Yeah.
and paying a company to manage it?
right.
Laura, can you walk through that, please?
Sure. Last year, the Outreach Committee approved certain expenditures that were going to be billed to the city, and the city would pay those invoices through our finance department. So we're not giving the $10,000 to whoever organizes the event, but rather we will pay for things that are approved from the Outreach Committee, like entertainers, security, permit fees to the city, those type of things.
So I don't understand what this RFP is for then.
The committee decided to go to RFP this year due to the fact of this being a new event, and they voted, this is new for the city, to have an organizer host the event instead of the committee hosting the event.
Oh, okay.
And they wanted to make sure that they were fair. They went out and they gave everybody an opportunity to bid on this.
Okay, and just again, we have delegated authority to the Outreach Committee to run the event, and then they have asked an outside event planner to help them. Is that?
That's correct.
Is that the chain? The chain? Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Is there any other questions? Greg?
I'm just trying to wrap my head around it about, I mean, this is the only city, I guess, sponsored or budgeted event that we do this for. I'm just trying to figure out why. What would be the difference between this and, let's call it the Blues Fest that was last week, only because it's ran by, the Rotary versus an outreach committee? I'm just trying to wrap my head around why we're not doing it, and no offense to Laura, but why isn't Laura or the city doing it? I mean, like for Celebrate Bonita or Holiday in the Park or even Movies in the Park or any of that, we do it ourselves, and now we're farming it out to somebody. And if Laura says, hey, we don't have time to do it, or the committee says we don't want to do it, it's one of those things I'm just trying to, figure it out.
Right. Well, I mean, Laura, what would you say? It's been, this will be the third year. The first 2 years, they did not choose to go this route. They choose to obviously run it as a committee. And are there other committees involved with any other events that we do throughout the year?
Well, this event was unique in the fact that the city didn't start this event. No committee actually began the event. Now, members that are on our outreach committee were a part of the first event. So the event was done on its own the first year. And then members of the community, who then became on the outreach committee, came forward and asked for this to be sponsored by the city, and it was added to the city's budget and approved for the $10,000. Then it was taken to the members of the outreach committee, where they discussed how they would like to move forward and incorporate those who originated the event. And at that time, they voted to make sure to work with somebody who, or actually Univision is one of the big partners, to put the event on, and wanted to make sure they could do that with sharing funds towards the event as a co-sponsor rather than the person who's putting on the, or the entity that's putting on the event.
I don't think, I'm sorry, I didn't understand your last sentence at all.
Okay, so the committee voted. We have members on our outreach committee that were also on other committees. For example, Tony Lee and Susie Valentine were on the tree board. They had put on events like Arbor Day, and the discussion that they had at the time was that they preferred to work as a sponsor towards an event with the group that originated the event, since they did a successful first year, rather than to host it themselves. Does that make sense?
This is the group that ran it the first year?
There are members on the board that were a part of the first year, yes.
Well, yeah, I think it just kind of goes towards the government light. You know, if we can kind of outsource some of the things, it takes the burden off of our staff, and I think it's a good thing.
Well, the only difference is that this is the only organization that we sponsor in this way, other than those 4 events that are really city-sponsored that we control. So this is different.
Fred?
Now, but it may lead towards doing this for other events too.
I think we should do it, and then we can compare this event, which has got a special organizer, a paid organizer, to how the other ones go. And we may say, well, next time we do it, we'll go back the other way. We may say, you know, this is good, better than some of ours. Maybe we want to do more outsourcing. I think doing it one time is worth doing, just to see how it comes out.
Some further discussion or questions, or? Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mayor Simmons?
Aye.
Councilman O'Flynn?
Aye.
Councilman Gibson?
Aye.
Councilman Forbes?
Aye.
Councilwoman Carumba?
Aye.
Councilman DeWitt?
Aye.
Councilwoman Carr?
Aye.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Now we have item E, discuss potential new county rules that would allow new lime rock mines to be more easily approved in the county DRGR adjacent to the village of Estero. Discuss possible action, including inviting an Estero representative and Bill Spanowski to our next city council meeting, and appropriate collaboration with Estero Deputy Mayor Peter O'Flynn, Green Sheet 1902-077. Peter.
So Pete, you got a letter from Jim Bosch. Do you want to lead on this, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I've got the, yeah,
Yeah.
no, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
All right. So, are people generally aware of this issue on council?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So it's for the public. It's a map change, but the substance of it is that in the unincorporated DRGR, which is obviously unincorporated Lee County, there's a proposal to basically liberalize the laws dramatically with respect to where mines are permitted, not just on the Alico corridor, but throughout a lot of it. And our friends in Estero on the village expressed concern about that, and it's been going on for quite a while, actually. And so what they did was they hired Bill Spikowski, who we all know, I think we all know of him, or to do a peer review of 2 different studies that were conducted with respect to the mining. One had been done by, I think it was Waltrip Engineering for the county, and from a layman's point of view, it allowed and that consistent with liberalization of stuff to have a lot more mines. And then there was another study, I think it was done by Greg Stewart. We remember him from the old water days. And that was, I think, for a private company that is concerned about the mining. And it critiqued the Waldrop study. And not to get too much into the detail, but one specific thing that's been kicking around for a long time is a thought that the original county study, when it came to calculate demand for Lime Rock, was actually counting the built homes as well as the unbuilt homes. I don't know that for a fact, but that's what's being said. So Spakowski did a peer review, and he presented that to the Village of Estero board, I guess their last meeting, not today, their last meeting. And I believe Jim Bosch sent a letter authorized by his board to the county commission expressing concern about this. So now the letter that Jim sent to Peter that we received a copy of on March 14th talked about some of this stuff, and it said, I'm asking for a meeting to be called with all the 6 municipalities quickly to see what we can do to gain support for this important initiative. His initiative meaning being against it. So we have that letter here today. So my original proposal here was to have Bill come down and have anybody from Estero Council to come down and speak to us. Peter, I don't know what you would like.
No, I think that's great.
Okay.
And I'll certainly do some outreach as well,
All
obviously
right.
to offer congratulations and
Yeah.
figure out scheduling and we'll
Okay.
work through that to get them to come.
So if that makes sense to council, we would have that at the next meeting?
Yeah, I was
assuming-
just gonna say, is that gonna be quick enough? I mean,
Well,
how
that's
quick's
my
this- How
question.
quick's the county gonna act on this?
Right.
Is it, you know?
Well, Pete, do you want to reach out to Bill and find out if it's quick enough, and if it's not?
Absolutely.
All right.
Sure.
so-
Fred?
Yeah, I actually sat through a presentation at ECCL on this matter, and there's really a lot more horrendous misassumptions that were made in that first study that was done that said we'd be out of gravel something like 2025 or 30.
Right.
But I believe that the way this should be done, this needs to be done just like Lake Okeechobee. And I think the best way to do it is get Stokowski down here, but turn this over immediately to Kevin and the mayor's council, because he's the governor's person for all kind of water issues, and this does relate to water. It could affect flooding. It affects a huge, what's left of the Florida Everglades over on this side. So I think for all the reasons above, that way you get all the mayors involved immediately, and Kevin is been the spokesperson appointed by previous governor, and apparently this governor is leaving him intact to do that. And that will give us a much stronger voice, because if you're going to try and persuade the county that what they're thinking about isn't what we think they should do, the more you have as a unity, the better off you are. And I think Kevin does have a good voice in Tallahassee as well.
Well, I'll reach out
As well as our mayor.
to the mayor of Estero, Mr. Spakowski, and I'll reach out to Mayor Ruane, and we'll get this organized.
Good.
And I'll do that when this meeting ends, because obviously there's an urgency here, and Arlene and Matt will work through the scheduling and get it scheduled.
So if I might suggest to do that, but if we do have time, I think it would be good for the council here. I mean, my personal view is I would sign on, but I don't know that everybody here has heard and knows the information. It sounds like Fred was at a presentation too. If there's time to hear, I'd rather hear it, everybody hear it.
Oh, yeah.
There's another aspect, because I've been following it for a while now, is I have concern about our own mine here, because I know that our mine is been at, you know, it's gonna come up, I don't know when the date is, when we're going to be asked to renew that contract for mining. And I started thinking that when they first had this report, how that was gonna affect our ability in the future, because our mine is also in our own DRGR. So it's not just where Estero is concerned at, which is out on Corkscrew Road now. It could be very close to home. So I think we need to have accurate information so that we can make our own decisions. And I think this is definitely a Lee County issue, and, you know, if they need pressure outside of that, but it's those people that are gonna be making the decision near term in regard to changing those and taking this information that appears to be erroneous. So it's really important to us.
Absolutely. Greg?
No, I just reiterate what Pete said. I mean, if we got time to do it, but I think one thing that the county should know is that, home rule. This is our neighborhood. It's great to talk to Kevin, but he's way out on Sanibel. I mean,
Correct.
it may not affect him. It may fall on deaf ears. I know Kevin's been leading our charge, but this is home rule. This is in our backyard.
Yeah, I think
And it's
the
all,
le-
and as we've talked about, everything's flowing south.
Right.
I think what the mayors did on the other issue was great. That was led by Kevin, made a lot of sense. This is being led by Estera.
Correct.
And I think, with all respect, I think the key is to talk to Bill, if it's Bill got elected
Bill and-
today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill and-
But I'll
Bill
actually,
and Pete.
but
Yeah,
I'll be
that's it.
reaching out to every mayor in the county once we know what the what is and when we're gonna meet and what, how we're gonna meet and what we're gonna do.
Subject to what Bill wants to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely, positively. That'll be great.
But if we can wait, and, I mean, I think you can talk to them if you, whatever, but if we can wait to take action, unless it's the time doesn't work, to wait to hear from Bill, I think that would be good.
That'll work out great. Thank you. Okay, any further discussion on that? Okay, item 9, first reading of the following ordinance and public comment is allowed. Derek?
Okay. An ordinance of the City of Bonita Springs, Florida, amending the provisions for the recovery of professional fees and costs for the review of development applications and procedures, therefore, providing conflicts, providing a severability clause, and providing for an effective date. Mr. Mayor and Council, if you recall, we implemented and amended last year the cost recovery ordinance. That's the more simple term for this, to include those study areas. We are asking to expand it citywide and to expand the areas in which we could secure professional services. So previously, we only looked to planning consultants and to land use council. We'd like to expand that to all areas, architecture, fiscal, engineering services. We're also going to be implementing, going forward, we're going to issue an RFP for miscellaneous planning services and consultant services across the board, so that, consistent with what we're doing on all of our other land development rewrites and what the zoning board is doing, we will have the ability to pull on those resources we don't have internally and charge those costs to the applicant where necessary to review these large and complex initiatives.
Okay, sounds good.
Council?
So moved.
I kind of have a little bit of a problem with it. I just feel like it's great for the city. We're recouping money that we're spending, but we're initiating this extra review, and we're spending the applicant's money. We don't really have any reason to control our spending, so I just don't think it's fair to them, because we could just keep running up the bill, because it keeps, it has provisions in there. If we use up the deposit they put in, they have to deposit more money. And in effect, if it's something we don't like, we could actually be hiring outside people to give us ways to defeat the applicant, and we're making them pay for it. So I kind of don't feel good about doing this. I'd feel better if there was a fixed set of fees. This is, the type of application you're putting in. This is our fee for looking it over and reviewing it, and it's done. But I don't think that we can keep going back to the well, because we're hiring more and more outside people to look at these things.
What do other jurisdictions do?
Cost recovery,
mean, is this-
Village Vistero does cost recovery. Some larger jurisdictions do cost recovery. Collier County just has much higher fees, which would be the alternative. So a lot of jurisdictions will break down their fees based on the size and complexity of the matter, which even for a PD that's coming in for like a master concept plan, might have fees that go into tens of thousands of dollars, because that way they're guaranteeing the recovery across the board. So this is more of a project specific. And we have, to Councilman Gibson's point, we have had people object in the past, and in those instances, we've actually pulled back and not used outside counsel, or the city has borne those costs itself, if there is a question about the legality of it or whether it's appropriate.
What about Mike's point? Maybe John can address it on this pedal to metal point he's making. What controls do we have to assure people we're being reasonable?
What we've generally done is have people strictly enforce what the regulations are. And I think that, taking a step back, the easiest way to attack essentially a user-based fee or the cost recovery model is to simply state that you're paying someone to go after your project. What we have seen with our consultants so far is they have been in step with what we're looking to enforce, council's priorities, and the strict interpretation of the ordinances as they've been written. And because of that, there have been very few instances where there's been a question. City attorney's correct. When there have been questions, there's been instances where someone's complained, we've been quick to pull back or to look for ways to make sure things are either streamlined or not charged. And I would look to be doing the same thing as we go forward. But it does come to the fact where the city has requested certain consultants to do certain work and provide certain services, and those can either come from the general fund or they can come from those using those services. And that's just a simple budgeting question. So it comes down to, if you want the entire city to subsidize those, that's one way to handle it, and most cities do. Other cities have gone to a more targeted approach that those that use the services pay for the services. To date, I think we've done a pretty decent job of keeping everyone on the same page and making sure those applications are as streamlined as possible, or at least as focused on council priorities as possible. But this is entirely...
Is there a way to do this and then take a look-see in 6 months' time, in a year's time, and come back?
That would be fine, as long as we know what the council would like us to track. I'm happy to provide that to you in about 6 months.
Track the money. Sorry.
I have something.
Yeah, no,
I think Fred had something.
Fred?
Well, I think, I understand what Mike is talking about. I think one way to minimize that happening is if a city councilman goes and asks you to contact spatial counsel, or they contact spatial counsel or a consultant to look at a project for specific things, that should be transparent, should be part of ex parte, even if it's not a zoning thing. And then that, we'll all know who's doing it, and if we don't agree with it, we can say something about it. But I think that having a trial period's a good idea, too.
I don't mind that, but really what we've done in the past is when applications come in, there have been certain applications in certain locations that have been, this council has given direction that certain consultants review, and
Yeah,
they
but
immediately go out for distribution.
I'm specifically talking about ones.
Correct. We can
Yeah.
track both the applications that come in, the cost associated with them, and any contact we've had with
But
council.
if one of us asks you to take a special look at this.
Yes, sir. We can.
Or if Ferry Act look at this, that we should know about it.
That's fine.
my point. Okay.
But who is asking
Yeah,
that?
and should we be asking
In
that
what
as an
environment are you
individual?
asking? That should never have been suggested in ex
If we ask
parte.
our staff to ask their.
In an ex parte communication?
Shouldn't be done.
Let me give a little
I think
more.
the developers
yeah,
are
a little more
entitled to know who's running up the bill if we have a problem. I don't know we have a problem, but that's a way to find out.
Well,
What
to
are you
going
talking
to the
about?
question of whether we have a problem or not, so the ordinance currently provides that Arlene makes determinations which projects get selected for this extra review. This will shift it over to John, who's really, his people are the ones who are looking at something when it comes in and says whether or not this reaches the level of complication. We're not changing the actual initial fee. So there's you pay your application fee, then there's a cost recovery fee above that. We're not proposing to change that with this ordinance. What we could do is, over a period of time, give a report back to the council that says, here's the percentage of applications that actually incurred the fee, and here's the percentage of applications that went above the existing fee. We're not actually, from what I understand, we're not looking to add landscaping and other reviews to projects beyond the current step. We just want to have that broad base of options. As we are changing the way we're regulating things, changing the review process, trying to build more transparency into it, we're finding that in order to process these things time effective too, we don't have necessarily everyone we have to get that done. So we could do the reporting in that way, move forward from this point maybe in 6 months and come back with a report of how many were triggered, how many went above the standard rates, and what those projects were.
But to Mike's point, if it goes above the standard rate in this trial period, who's being charged for that? Are we waiving the fees, or is the applicant going to be charged
The
it?
applicant has been charged. Now, I don't know how many we've had. We have had one come in that went above the standard fee, and we agreed to split it with them, the costs. on that project.
All right, I guess my question would be to you, Derek. In this trial, let's say we try this for a year, instead of the applicant being charged, could we pull it so the reviewer, the person that we're paying to review gets paid? Can we pull it out of the building fund?
If it's a building permitting issue, yes. If it's a zoning issue, no, it has to be tied to the zoning permit fees. Now, most of these projects are so interrelated that there's going to be a combination of that, but.
Nice try.
Well, I'm just trying to get it so.
Absolutely.
For a 1 year, at least whoever's gonna get paid, whoever's gonna get paid gets paid. But let's see, what are we talking? Are we talking 5,000 a year? Are we talking 110,000, 500,000, whatever? How much are we talking a year that either A, we're eating, or B, is getting written off?
At this point, I would have to go back and take a look at those numbers. I mean, we really, I know there's been one that's gone above, and I think there's actually been several that have, but they don't tend to. They don't tend to exceed the deposit level. Most applications are done within that initial amount.
Could we have it by the second reading?
Absolutely, I think we can pull that.
Could we have what?
That'd be a factor.
I second the motion.
Yes.
That number.
But you are bringing this to us because there are certain cases that are very complex, and because we have various overlays and visions that we are trying to implement, that the council, by procedure and policy, is asking you to effect.
Yes, ma'am.
That require the input from our professionals in order to do what we asked you to do.
Yes, ma'am.
And not many, I assume, of the projects that come before you fall into that category. But in order to set a set fee for, like, a planned development, we couldn't incorporate those kind of special circumstances. So this is to accommodate these special circumstances. Is that why we're looking at this today?
Yes and no. It comes to two points as I see it. One is you have certain priorities and certain standards that you are looking to enforce, and those areas are impacted outside of the overlays, where we currently have the ability to enforce this cost recovery. You also have a certain complexity of applications that are currently being submitted to the office that this council has become accustomed to review by certain consultants and enjoys the review of those consultants. And right now, that cost recovery is not available for those for all applications. So in those two instances, both in terms of enforcing your goals and priorities, and also to provide you the level of review that you have become accustomed and now essentially expect, this needs to be able to be applied across the board, or at least not limited geographically.
There's a potential for consistency. You know, we've highlighted Bonita Beach Road, US 41, O 41, and the idea that has been expressed to staff is that we want to look for a consistent branded message. There are properties that are just outside the specific location of the existing ordinance that we know would impact the overall aesthetics of, or actually impact through transportation, through traffic, through water management, through other issues that are more complex. Though because they lay just outside the location of the existing ordinance, staff feels that they could be affected in the area that you've made of most importance, of the existing overlays.
Right, so if you have a project that's not directly adjacent to Bonita Beach Road, but is dumping, you know, hundreds or thousands of trips on it, you know, we're taking the position now that we want to review that under the cost recovery. But if the applicant, we've had one applicant objective, we've agreed to pull back. We want to clarify that it's not just the boxes that are drawn in the original ordinance, but the whole city. That way we can make those determinations internally.
Okay, council?
Yeah, I just think this is something we're asking extra. I think this cost should be borne by us, not passed on to them.
Yeah, 'cause
I mean, there's, at a minimum, there should be a not to exceed amount, or there should be a way for them to not have to go through this. If they can supply more things at application, that would help, you know. But I think just triggering this and us, let's have this guy look at it, this one, it's just adding up all these costs that may not be necessary.
And kind of like you just said, Derek, I mean, I'm just going on and let's use Logan Boulevard dumping out there. I mean, did we look at that as how much more traffic is going to get put on there? I mean, it's not fair if they're within the parameters of where they're at. So, I mean, if it's affecting somewhere 2 miles down the road, now we got to have that looked at. That's on us. That's not on them. They're wanting to build their project wherever. So I don't know. I'm with Mike on it. I mean, that's something we're added on to it. We want to take a second look at it on a bigger scale rather than the project scale. That's on us to do that. Why should they have to? They've met the standards. They're trying to meet the standards in that geographical area. And now
Actually,
we're
that is the
saying-
question. That is the question.
Right.
Who makes that determination as to whether they have met that standard? Because if it was a simple yes or no question and we've already determined that they have and there's an additional review on above and beyond, then I think you have a very valid point and reason to be concerned. At this point, I think the reason why we've involved these additional consultants is either they have created a vision or they've created regulations or they have created an aesthetic that this council has adopted and wishes to enforce. And as a result, when people come in that have a project that is impacted or is underneath those rules or guidelines, those that have created those sections or those standards make a determination as to whether a project is consistent or compliant.
But in that given area, because we'll give you, like, let's use Bonita Beach Road. Let's use Bonita Beach Road as a good example. So let's say somebody goes in and buys all the land, all those trailers and stuff on Dell Lane and Red Bud and all that, and decides to make a planned development out of it. That is far enough away from Bonita Beach Road, so why should, let's use DPZ in this case, go back and say, this doesn't meet the standards of Bonita Beach Road? It's not near Bonita Beach Road, it's past the overlay. Why should they have to bear the cost of DPZ to look at it if that's something we want as a city, if it's outside the outliers of
Well,
the
and
ordinance?
DPZ is a perfect example.
Why would they be?
Because that's often one of the ones we see where the council says, what, has DPZ taken a look at it? And so if they're not, it's not part of their scope, we have no process to have the DPZ look at it. And of course, it elongates the process for the applicant. But I wouldn't use, what I would use in that example would be, what if the quadrant plan is affected? They're not on Bonita Beach Road for the purposes of, the site design, but they're driving traffic that has impacts on the quadrant plan, which is currently under our cost recovery program. So that would be the latter situation, be when we want to engage and look at that, not the former, because I think I agree that.
I guess that's my point. Instead of changing cost recovery, let's change the area of their scope of looking at it, and then it's part of it. Instead of, it's a known cost now instead of an unknown. That's the part I think that I have a problem with right now, is they don't know going into it what their true and final cost is. It can be more, it can be less, and that more is going to be based on what we decide that we want to have our people look at.
Can I just?
I guess that's the question. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes, no. It's getting late, but I'm lost. I'm totally lost. I don't understand all this talk about, Logan Boulevard and Bonita Beach. I mean, I'm assuming we're talking about individual projects that come before you as to which there is a review that's called for already by the council. Because I agree with Greg. I mean, but I don't know that that's the fact. His point being, well, if we're supposed to have somebody look on Bonita Beach Road, but somebody's up by Southern Pines, well, if Southern Pines is not covered, we wouldn't be calling their services to look at that, right?
Correct.
It's only what's in.
It's to bridge the gap between a disconnect and how the ordinance was written in terms of geographic areas for cost recovery versus what the intent, as we understand it as council, has been asking for the review. And it's not to reach areas that are currently, you have not requested. It's basically to address the review for those areas that you have expected.
Yeah, and I think part of this lies in the original, or the 2018.
Somebody's got to be more clear here,
yeah,
please.
The 2018 ordinance.
Somebody's got to be more clear. Just exactly what are you asking for?
In a good example, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. In practice, you have been we have been implementing the cost recovery where it was appropriate whenever the issue of the resources of the office required that additional review. And that could be
Okay.
on the beach, it could be on Bonita Beach Road, it could be anywhere in the city.
Consistent with
And-
whatever
and
is in our
whi-
ordinance.
Which has been the history since the cost recovery ordinance was put into
Okay.
place. Now, in 2018, we made revisions. In those revisions, the recitals, which were incorporated into the ordinance, sort of indicated that it's only for parts of US 41 and the Bonita Beach corridor.
Oh,
So
see.
restricting it back.
So-
And we got people starting to push back and say, well, yeah, I know I've agreed on other times, but now I'm starting to pull it back. And I don't know that that was ever the discussion of the council or anything else. I think the recitals inadvertently seem to limit the authority, so we're trying to clarify that.
Can I ask if it's be appropriate to pull this for today and have council members individually briefed on exactly what this is, and then come back at the next meeting?
Yeah, and I got one final comment or question. Let's
Is that
use
all
a
right?
couple, yeah, I agree with you, Pete.
Okay.
Because there's no urgency, hurry, per se, I mean.
Well, 2 weeks, whatever it is.
No, I understand, right.
Yes, I'm saying. yeah,
Right.
I agree with you.
And I guess my comment or question would be is let's use the dentist office on Bonita Beach Road, the one that
Okay.
just got made.
Yeah.
At one point, I think someone on this council said, did DPZ look at it and see if it was part of the plan on Bonita Beach Road? My question is, if that comment is made, that's something that we're asking for. Why should the applicant have to pay for that when it's, especially since we have sort of an overlay or what we want on
Right.
that? That's what I think Mike's getting at right now. And I have to
Let's
assume
find
they
out
agree.
what
I don't
it
think
is.
the applicant
Meet
has been
individually
paying
and
those
find out what
Of course,
they're
that is
talking
on
about, 'cause I
Bonita
don't think
Beach
that-
Road.
And rather than wonder
and
or.
it
Well, no, the
didn't
issue,
not wonder.
in those situations where it's
Let's
happened
not
at the
wonder.
meeting, the applicant has not been charged for those.
No? Yep.
No.
Okay,
All right.
can we
Do you need a motion to?
table for 2
or-
weeks and
Yeah,
No, we'll just
have
bring
meetings
it
and-
back at the
Yeah.
next meeting. We don't-
Yeah, but
Well,
please.
but in the
talk to
meantime-
You can have
Yes.
a,
Okay. Counsel, great. Okay, Derek, what else do you have? Is that it for you? Anything else you might have?
I have a couple of our other items. Mr. Theriak will be sending out an email later. We were successful in the full DOA proceeding on the BG mine, but he'll follow up with the details on that. Want him to get credit for where credit's due.
Yeah.
We also have a couple of bills
So that
that
was
are.
in Tallahassee?
That was as you recall, we had a recommended order that was in the city's favor. That went up for review, and the final order came down from Tallahassee indicating that, basically victory for the city, and none of the exceptions filed by the petitioner were accepted.
Okay,
So
thank
a
you.
complete win on that one. We have 2 bills moving through the legislature I just want to bring your attention to in case you're having conversations with anyone. One is House Bill 829, and that is an attorney's fees provision. In any situation, what that provides is whether it's a direct preemption or an implied preemption, if a local government is sued in an area where the legislature is found by a court of law to have authority, then there's automatic attorney's fees. And that's in the situation where, for instance, maybe fireworks is a good example I know we've talked about, where there's regulations on fireworks, but we may regulate it on a sound basis, something like that. Someone challenged us, now they'd almost be encouraged to create a cottage industry, because there are a lot of areas that are not express preemption where the government has said, you cannot regulate this. There are certainly those areas, but there are certainly a lot more where the preemption is implied through a regulatory scheme, and that is an honest, litigible issue that we shouldn't be punished for. The other one is a Burt Harris Act amendment, and that is Senate Bill 1720, and it's House Bill Companion 138. Those bills would apply in the situation where if there is a finding that there's a possible violation under Burt Harris, which is what I'll call takings light, and the city engages in a variance proceeding for one property owner that's affected, it has to automatically applies to all property owners. That could drive a lot of unintended consequences, and it could also drive a lot of litigation for cities because we'll be less encouraged to settle issues that may be applicable to only one parcel, because now we would have to apply it across the board to everyone, even if that particular parcel doesn't have the exact same fact pattern. So, and that's all I have.
What about
Greg?
House Bill
On
9?
those two issues, have we been in contact with our lobbyists to
The latter one, I just learned out, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to get some details from Representative Grant's office on the Bert Harris action. Oh, yes, happy to.
Greg,
Sorry.
you had something, and then Fred.
Yeah, two questions. Does House Bill 829, does it have a companion bill or no?
Not that I've seen.
All right, so it may not even go if it doesn't have a companion.
And I just got the league update yesterday, and I didn't see a companion.
And since you brought it up, where are we on our fireworks issue that I brought up a couple months ago about looking at ordinances to get rid of the tents and stuff like that? I know that's fast approaching.
No, the ordinance situation is, again, I looked at what Marco did and some of the other cities we talked about. Again, we're regulating only the noise. We can,
Can we regulate the tents and what they
yeah,
sell?
the tent sales, just as I said last meeting, that's temporary use. We can regulate those issues
All
as
right,
well.
so are
But
we
we
gonna
would
move
have to
forward with that?
process through with those with a land development change. on
John,
special.
can we look into that, get it done before July, before this starts coming in?
And I apologize, because it has been a long meeting for me too. I jumped ahead to my
No,
my
that's okay,
comments.
because I gave you that opening there, so.
But I also have in your agenda an interlocal agreement with the tax collector's office. This basically mirrors the one we had at the last meeting, so that they can charge us $1.50, I believe, for each property for the potential stormwater
And just
system.
before we get to that, Fred, I think you had a question.
Oh, no, what about House Bill 9, which does bad things to cities if you want to do a CRA?
That's the bill that's planning to get rid of CRAs entirely.
It was-
There's a
Right,
companion
without
bill on that.
two-thirds
Or
vote.
Yeah.
it's got to be approved by the whole county, and all kind of regulations are slapping on it.
I haven't been tracking that bill, other than to know that it's out there.
It's moving through. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Do you happen to know what the Senate companion is on that one?
Pardon?
I'll look
hold on.
into it.
Okay.
Okay, council, anything else? Or Derek?
No, just what, the approval of the interlocal agreement.
So
Okay.
moved.
So moved in a second. Further discussion?
Yeah, so it's $1.45 per parcel plus administrative costs. Do we have an idea of what the administrative costs are?
No, we don't have an idea.
Because if it's $1.45 per parcel and we're estimating $50 per parcel, we're already giving away 3% of what we're bringing in. So I think we need to look at the total cost of this and see if it's, worth it.
Here's a question, Derek. What's our alternative?
What?
What's the alternative? If we don't have the county
If we,
do
don't-
it?
if we don't have the county do it, there is no alternative.
Okay.
I did ask about the costs on the property appraiser's office, if they could give us some estimate, and basically they have to run down every piece of property. So they couldn't give me an estimate on the administrative costs, because every city obviously has a different number of parcels. So that was the issue. And we don't really have a comparable size city.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Gibson,
No.
Councilman Forbes,
Aye.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
The-
I was mentioning.
Can you just repeat, Derek, what your?
Which
what the
item?
motion-
Which item is
This is the approval of the interlocal agreement with the Lee County Tax Collector, the stormwater assessment.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
I apologize. Roll call, please.
Councilman Gibson,
No.
Councilman Forbes,
Aye.
Councilwoman Carumba.
Aye.
Councilman DeWitt,
Aye.
Councilwoman Carr,
No.
Mayor Simmons,
No.
Councilman O'Flynn.
Aye.
Yeah.
Derek, did you have anything else?
I have nothing else.
Okay,
Derek.
that's wonderful.
talked
Thank
more
you.
than I can.
Greg.
I was just telling Derek it's House Bill, Senate Bill 1054.
Oh, okay. Dynamite. We're going to actually, we went slightly out of order. Public comment. Members of the public that would like to speak at this time, please come forward. Hello, Kathy.
Yes, for the record, Kathy McGrath. I would just like to clarify some comments that I read into public comment 2 weeks ago. It concerned the possible use of the old library building on West Terry Street once they move. And I had been speaking with people, and they thought, well, that little substation up on Old 41 is kind of small. Maybe we should relocate the community policing over there. And while it wasn't my idea, you know, I did read it into the comments. It did sound kind of like could be something that be done. And since that time, I've had the opportunity to talk to the people who it really concerns, and that is our local community policing unit. And I just wanted the record to show that they have no desire to relocate over to West Terry. They want to be in downtown Bonita, and I agree, that's where they should be. I mean, Riverside Park, the new library's coming there, so if I misconstrued comments or something, I don't want them to think it was my idea. I support everyone in our sheriff's department, and especially our local deputies. I've told them, I said, I want what you want, not what somebody else thinks is the best thing for you. So of course, it would be nice if they had a bigger building, but they want to stay right where they are, and I'm behind them 100%. I just wanted to clear that up. Thanks for letting me do it.
Great, thank you very much. Other members of the public that would like to speak? Okay. Jason, welcome.
Jason Monk, guest from Sanibel for the day. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Mayor Bill Ribble for being voted in for Estero, which is fantastic. I just got word from down there that that was the case from a team member. But I also want to thank everybody for participating in the letter to Governor DeSantis. It was really quite a sad decision, and I think we were really let down by the administrative law judge in that situation. I'm not entirely sure, but I've full faith and credit in the administrative law branch of our government. As to the Lime Rock issue, I would not exclude Mayor Wayne from anything that had to do with that. I wouldn't want anyone to be the Yoko Ono in a band. That is fantastic. It's really accomplished a lot, and it's that united group together that really gets things done, and especially in those cases when they can see that Sanibel may not have Lime Rock mines in the future, but we're going to stick together when it comes to issues on water, no matter what. It affects us all. It's all going to end up in the same place. It'll hit our beach just as fast as it hit yours. And the last comment I had was the sign would make it, as a doff of the hat for boaters, and to get rid of it would make it a fantastic reef off Bonita Springs. The water tower reef has a nice ring to it. And the last thing I wanted to mention was just a comment on the attorney's fees issue. And while I am no fan of all I can call them is weasels with their drive-by suits that are hitting the suits, and they're my own brethren in the profession, but they're doing it specifically to hit on those attorney's fees from my experience of defending against their cases. However, if citizen nobody has to fight any city or any county because they're enforcing an illegal law against them that's been preempted by the state, and I'm a home rule fanatic. I do not like preemption, but there are some things that it's appropriate to preempt them to the state for a unified experience from county to county and city to city. If that person is forced to drag a city all the way through to the point that attorney's fees become apparent, to tell them that they are what is an ultra-virus act, they are doing something that they cannot legally do, then shame on the city for not wanting to pay their attorney's fees in the first place, because I wouldn't want to suffer that sort of injustice, so I wouldn't wish it on somebody else. Now, as to the drive-by side, I concur entirely. But any city attorney or city manager or council that lets a problem get that far down the road that the legal fees for an illegal act are the problem, it isn't the legal fees that's the problem. That was my comment. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much, Jason. Other members of the public that would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to city manager's items.
Good afternoon. We just wanted to remind you all that we'll be hosting the website testing session tomorrow evening here in Chambers at 5:30. We will have computers set up inviting target groups, including our technology advisory board, and our outreach committee, and they can come and test the site and provide comments on comment cards. And this will be open to the public as well. We also are welcoming any of our council members who'd like an individual meeting with Laura and her team to look at the preview of the new site and give us some feedback. And we're hoping to launch the site in mid-April, so we're moving forward with that project. We wanted to give you a very brief update on the golf course redevelopment ordinance. Staff has collected all the comments received from the public workshops, and we're continuing to receive feedback as well from existing property owners, residents, businesses as well. They are formulating a template ordinance at this time, and they believe they're in good standing to start moving forward with involving Special Counsel Theriac and Spain in the process with the draft that they have, with consult with our city attorney as well. And last but not least, we have started outreach again for our ear-based and state-mandated amendments for our comprehensive plan with Dr. Banyan. Just to remind everybody that at our city council meeting on April 3rd, that Margaret Banyan will be here to do a presentation. She will have open office hours during the day from 12 noon to 4:30 p.m. And that is any member of the public who would like some additional information or one-on-one time to understand a little bit more of the process and how that works. They get your opportunity to come in and stop. They'll be in room 118. And then on the
Ask, is that the mandatory ear or is this the optional ear?
It is going to be both. We're moving forward with public comment on both. We have mandatory as well as some optional elements that were directed previously by council to move forward, including transportation issues. As well, we're including some of our multimodal policies within the transportation element. So we were going to do those, receive the public comment simultaneously. You will be given an outline of those that are required by state and those that are optional, and then the council can decide which one they prefer, if they'd like to move forward with both at the same time or how they'd like to move forward. Additionally, the following evening, there'll be a short 10 to 15 minute presentation, and then there'll be breakout sessions as well for the workshop that following evening, Thursday evening. There'll be 2 sessions that folks can attend. One starts at 5:30 to goes to 6:45. There'll be a 15-minute break, and the second session will start from 7:15 to 8:30.
Can I make just a comment about the ear, which is, it's coming back to me, it's a while ago, we limited the optional.
Correct.
And so I think it's extremely important that whoever's reaching out to the public and explaining what's going on, that it's explained what those limitations are, only because, you know, people need to be properly informed.
Okay. Council, anything else?
Do we have a completion date for the mandatory amendments? I mean, when we think we can get them done, or?
We do not have a completion date. We're hoping that over the summer we would be drafting after we receive the public feedback, be drafting the optional, the state mandatory required ones as well as some of the optional. If we find that the state mandatory are in place quicker, there's a potential to move that process quicker than the optional ones. What we had discussed is you may want to be adopting the state required ones in off-season, which we typically do not do. We typically wait for the adoption hearings in January, February, March. And you might want to reserve the adoption of any optional for the January, February, March to have more feedback as well. So you can separate the process.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Mayor and council member reports. Fred.
That presentation on the gravel is very interesting. I would urge everybody to tell their friends to be here when Bill comes in, because there is a whole lot of differences beside counting the 9 tons of gravel that everybody that's already here requires. There's other things like there's a waste factor when you mine gravel. It's commonly used as 20%. 20% means that there's a bunch of busted up rock at the bottom of the ponds they can't get a hold of and get out. The study that the county did, they took the 20% and added 20 on top of it. So that reduces the efficiency of the mining down to 60% instead of 80%. So there's 3 or 4 more other good things, but something has to be done, but we do need this full unified approach that I spoke of, that Jason just spoke about, and I think moving it to where they move this, we're not going to be able, just us and Estero, to move the county on issues. You've seen 3 or 4 examples, and this is even a bigger example that's coming up potentially.
Okay. Mike?
I'm good, thank
Peter?
I had a few things. One is, I'm going to be at the MPO on Friday, so can you explain as best you know, Pete, when the boat ride is and what the timing is on that
Right,
stuff?
the boat will be leaving at 9:30.
Oh, all right, I missed that. Okay.
Okay,
All right,
and then
solve
the
that.
ceremony, to best of my understanding, at FGCU will begin at 10.
Okay.
And is anybody able to go?
I can't go. 'cause
No?
I'm at the MPO.
Okay.
Love to go.
If anybody's,
I plan
just
to
so I
go.
know who to, you'll be there, Fred? Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else able to join us?
I have a plane.
Okay, you have a plane, okay.
I'll be flying hopefully on not a Maxie.
Okay, great.
Oh.
I'm sorry, Peter, go
No,
ahead.
that's all right. So I had a few things. Had a very good meeting, Matt and I did, with Wayne Gaither, who was the district superintendent under Nandem for our district at FDOT. When it was last Friday. About a 2-hour meeting about a lot of transportation issues, but particularly one which I've talked about before, which is we've got the 9 lanes of traffic on US 41. There's more traffic lanes on there than on 75, and how it's daunting for people to get across it. We had the same problem, like, for example, coming out of Spanish Wells on Beach Road, and we need some creative solutions to make that thing human accessible, not just cars, to get across. And they pledged that they're going to work creatively with us on it, so hopeful on that. Next week, I'm meeting with Eric Draper, who's the head of the parks, Florida Parks, to talk about our relationship as regards Lover's Key. I've sent email around that previously. It's a follow-up, and Arlene and I are doing that. And once again, thanks to Mark Generalis for his efforts with respect to that.
And I would just add to that, Pete.
Yes.
Good work there with Generalis. For the folks that don't know, for the Welcome Center, for the dedication down there, at the moment, if they hook up, there's septic, but there's discussion afloat, no pun intended, to obviously avoid that.
Right.
Potentially tap into the condos across the street, which is tapped into the Fort Myers Beach water. However, that's
sewer system.
Yes,
Yeah.
part of the biggest part of the discussion. Maybe not the biggest, but a big part of the discussion.
Also, next week, meeting with the Conservation Fund, who is advising us with respect to what we call the Seminole Gulf right-of-way, a meeting with them and Mayor Bedos. And also, Pat Corley is helping on this exercise as well. So Arlene and Matt are totally informed. Any questions people have, I would suggest directing to them. And that is about it. So, best of luck in Tallahassee next
Great.
week.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you very
All right.
much. Thank you. Laura?
I'm good. Thank you.
Greg?
No, just good luck to FGCU Eagle Girls. They play Friday.
Great. Amy?
Just a comment, I'm going to be away all next week, and we are going to have a reception for the University of Montevallo where they're putting in their sculptures. And
I'm sorry, the,
And thank you for attending that reception, because I think we're really going to appreciate their contribution that we have to do that. And
Amy, I believe, and I just sent
It's
you a
at
note,
3:30.
that may run into Tallahassee, so.
Oh, that's what I was saying.
Yeah,
but-
no,
but
I apologize
can't
with that,
atte-
yeah.
I can't attend
So
that.
if, I'd like to open that up to members
So
of
if
council
somebody
that.
would go and
Yes,
represent,
that are
would you
able
do
to
that?
attend.
Because I really,
Yes.
and there's a reception afterwards, but I'm sure that Arlene or,
What was the date again?
it's March 27th at 3 o'clock at River Park.
Then they have a reception.
And then there's a reception that you have to respond to. Could you just connect somebody? Because I cannot, I
She
wish
said
I
to
could go. I really am disappointed.
I know,
Yeah.
for sure.
And again, thank you
You'd
for
have one
the
up
efforts
for
in Tallahassee, and what see what happens and whether we had to go. We got some good news recently that we're on the right list and somebody's supporting us. We just have to follow up on that. But that's it.
Great. And Pete, you said you had another
Yeah,
thing?
just for clarity, Mayor Bosch's letter talks about involving all the municipalities. My only point on that is Estero should lead, that's all. Obviously, everybody, all the mayors should be involved.
Right. No, very good. Great team. Well, we covered a lot today. Thank you very much. Keep up the great work. I've covered, as you can see, what I have, six sheets in here, 6 items, so I'm pretty well covered. That's what I'm up to. You see what's going on, and thank you, everybody, for your hard work. And we will now move on to the approval of the minutes.
So move.
Okay, motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Forbes.
Aye.
Councilwoman Carumba.
Aye.
Councilman DeWitt.
Aye.
Councilwoman Carr.
Aye.
Mayor Simmons.
Aye.
Councilman O'Flynn.
Aye.
Councilman Gibson.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Public comment? Kathy? Jason? Anybody else for public comment? Just figured I'd, okay, wonderful. Seeing no public comment, motion to adjourn?
Someone?
We are adjourned. Thank you very much.